Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Higurashi, Part 3, Chapter 11 now. I'm curious to see where this goes. We got 2 chapters left. You might be seeing the last couple chapters of this arc tonight, and I'm curious what's going to happen. Are we going to be found out? Is someone going to cover for us? What's going to happen? I feel like our murder was really sloppy, but there's a lot of other sketchy things happening today. We have 2 people definitely dead, and like 1 guy we're trying to disappear. I'm curious how it's gonna go. I'm thinking probably the first thing they'll do is they'll probably like check the swamp or something and find his fucking scooter. That would make the most sense, right? Instead of the body, they find the scooter. Just so our character knows the noose is closing in or some shit. We might have a scene where they find the scooter and our character feels that tingle as they're like, it's like, oh shit, the swamp isn't infinitely deep. They found it. Oh, this is bad, 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 bad. One of those things. The body could be found easily, but I mean, it equally seems likely that they find the motorcycle, and that's when he knows he's fucked. Then they'll know the time. They'll know everything at that point. Anyway, let's find out how things go, and hopefully get past this deafening rain. Have it burn down for you guys, but it's still fairly loud in my ears. I didn't want to completely mess up my entire sound setup for this. But for you guys, I'm protecting you. Protecting your ears. Mine'll take the beating. At first, I thought it was a dream. I was staring at this strange sheet, not really understanding what it was. That was all. I didn't go after it, nor did I ridicule it. Eh? What? The fact was that the boring view was the ceiling of my own room, but I didn't realize that for a fairly long time. Yes, I thought I'd been dreaming, but I'd actually been staring at the ceiling the whole time. Suddenly dead silent after that deafening downpour, which is a little bit unusual, but hey.
Ho-ho! Ho-ho!
Lethargy induced by the voices of the cicadas. Really? It's cicadas convincing you to do this? Seems like I needed a bit of a drink. Alright. That should keep me awake. Even after I realized I was awake, I couldn't draw forth the energy to sit up. Everything I could see, hear, everything was like a television broadcast that had already ended. It was hot. So hot I could choke on the heat. My back was moist with night sweats and it felt gross. Unable to endure it any longer, I tossed in my futon and finally blood started coursing through my brain. Don't you have school today, my dude? Weirdly enough, they had this festival on like a Sunday or some shit. I lazily recalled the long day I had yesterday. The reality as I lay here listening to the voices of the cicadas, and yesterday so different from it. In order to kill Satoku's uncle, I had rehearsed and formulated a plan and dug a hole. It was very hot and I was tired, wasn't I? And when evening came, I went to school and called him out on the phone. I panicked for a moment when he asked where the police station was, but it worked out. And then I awaited him and swooped down. I couldn't remember anymore what sort of emotions I'd let control my body. In any case, it didn't go smoothly, but I did it. Yeah, the part where it didn't go smoothly is the part where things definitely fell apart, but I feel like they fell apart at the planning stage. Your plans were kind of shoddy, as you didn't account for things like, I'm killing someone at night where I can't see, what do I do? It was very hard to dig the hole for the body, and you didn't even use the hole, that's the worst part, dude! That feel of rain pelting down on me, I don't think I'll ever forget it. Like, the worst part is, the cops will the worst part is the cops can find the hole and be like, oh, this is clearly man-made. Not used, but man-made. Whatever. The feel of the rain pelting on me, I don't think I'll ever forget it. The rain, the mud, the sprays of blood. The sensation of floundering in a swamp. When I met Takano on the way home, that wasn't good no matter how I interpreted it. It was the most misfortunate and uncalculated thing that had happened that night. Dude, this guy's probably fucking exhausted too. I wonder what time it is. It might be past time to go to school. Everything would have been perfect if only I hadn't encountered her. Dude, this guy's way overconfident, but I mean, that's probably one of the reasons why he's gonna be caught. He's so damn confident. It's like, everything would be perfect if only I didn't encounter Takano, and you're like, dude, There were like 6 things that went wrong during your fucking murder attempt. Like, there were like so many things that went wrong, and so many clues left behind. Like, it's a miracle that it rained to cover up how sloppy you were being. If it wasn't fucking raining, you'd be so dead. You'd be so busted in like 5 minutes. Now, it just of the rain, you might get an extra day. But you still left so many stupid clues that it's gonna be obvious, right? I was just riding my bike with my shovel in one hand through the downpour, utterly soaked. There was no way someone could surmise I was a murderer bearing a body just from that information. I mean, it's really weird to be... Like, you didn't put away the fucking shovel, either. Like, is the shovel still in the room? Is it still covered in blood? Like, come on, dude. Now that I was thinking calmly, napping under the morning sun, that's what I thought. Still, the more I thought about her eyes, it seemed like she understood. Ikano, she knew. She knew I killed someone, buried them. Yeah, the paranoia is gonna help you a lot. When the cops come knocking, looking for like the 3 people who are fucking dead tonight, it's totally gonna help you to be fucking paranoid about everything. Ikano wouldn't gain anything from selling me out to the police. Dude, this guy. But that didn't mean I could feel at ease. I should have killed her. I'd crossed such a bridge to get my tranquil life back. I finally achieved it as a result. Yeah, okay. But now, for the rest of my life, for all tranquil days starting today, I'd have to live in fear of when they could suddenly end. Yeah. Yep, that's what I guess what you get for killing Satoko's uncle. You're so lucky it was raining to cover some of your tracks, because you made a complete mess of everything. You're also insanely lucky that Takano is apparently dead, too, so... Like, how much luckier could you get? The one person who saw you randomly died tonight. It poured to hide the trail of blood you left all over the forest. Like, come on, dude. I may have twisted my ankle, dulled from total exhaustion. The fact that I couldn't make the snap judgment I needed to, I regretted it more and more as time went on. You didn't have a choice, Keiichi Maebara. You didn't have any choice at the time, and I don't even know how this guy thinks he didn't have a choice and had to kill someone so fast, but, you know. Maybe he's just the kind of person who's like, well, can't call the police once, didn't work, I guess I'll murder him. Like, alright, dude. I feel like there were probably like 2 or 3 rational steps you could have taken first. But, whatever. He's like, well, she won't accept me coming to try and get the police to help her, so I'll kill him myself. Like, what? Come on, dude. You were tired. You were a mess. Even if you made the decision, you might not have been able to kill her. She might have beaten you instead. In that sense, parting ways uneventfully could have been the safer option. No matter how sharp Takano's intuition was, she had no proof. Her suspecting me didn't amount to evidence by itself. Logically, I know that. This guy, by the way, half the time he's thinking like that, where there's no quotation marks, I swear to God, half the time he actually speaks that stuff out loud and the game doesn't tell you until someone reacts to it. So, whenever you're thinking he's thinking, just remember he could be mumbling this to himself close enough that his mom could hear from through the door or some shit. Like, he could just be wandering around he could be just laying in bed saying, he could be like, ah, fuck, it doesn't matter, I should have fucking killed her, and blah, 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 blah. Like, he could be leaving some really obvious clues out loud, because this guy's so bad with his, mouth. Doesn't mean you have nothing to worry about. You have so many things to worry about, dude. Worry about it when the time comes. Because next, you're gonna be found fucking snooping around the forest trying to find your goddamn shovel with your name on it, right? Now isn't the time to be worrying, it's the time to be smiling, right? You accomplished so much to gain a new life starting today, didn't you? Be happy at this new morning. If remembering the past is too hard, consider everything up to yesterday as having never happened. Okay. You said so yourself. You'd bury it like it never happened. Well, your wish came true. Everything before yesterday never happened. Be happy, Keiichi Maebara. Yay! I stuck my hands up lazily. It felt a little silly for me to be the one doing it. I heaved a sigh from deep in my belly. That sigh got my lungs moving. I felt like I hadn't been breathing until just now. It wasn't enough to admonish myself over. All the dice that could be thrown already had been. And the numbers that turned up weren't bad at all. Dude, you rolled like a 6 and a 1. Or more accurately, you rolled a 1 and you were given a 6. For like a thoroughly average roll. It's a thoroughly average roll. If you lost with those numbers, you just have to give up, I guess? I guess so. I grabbed the chest of my pajamas and flapped it back and forth. Cool air flowed over my sweating body. Alright. Nothing before yesterday happened. Nothing. Nothing at all. I'd forget it all. Yesterday it was all a dream. What time was it? About midnight? Getting myself up and going to school this late seemed kind of absurd, but I needed to go. I felt like going to school would be the first step in my new, peaceful life. I didn't care how late it was, I'd go. I'd go to school right now and get back to the life I'd retaken as soon as I could. So he slept in half the day, okay. My lazy body immediately became lighter at the thought. I rolled up, out of the futon, bounced onto my knees, and leapt upright. Nice! Stuck the landing. Okay, I stuck out my chest with a pride at my gymnast-like pose and took a deep breath of fresh air. Okay, I'm like trying to think of how that worked, because he's on a futon on the ground, right? The brisk morning air had gone on for a while, replaced by the crisp air of summer. Downstairs I got a stern talking to by my mother. Where were you last night? When did you get back? You need to tell me when you won't be home for dinner, things like that. But considering the importance of what I had accomplished yesterday, a little scolding was no problem. Dude, you left like another gaping fucking hole in your plans. Because, let me tell you, every time you're late, Reina comes to check on you, so Reina knows your parents don't know where you were. So if Mion asks, hey, like, think of this, your perfect murder with no hooks. Reina comes to visit you. Reina will come check on your house if you aren't at the meeting point early in the morning for school. You told your classmates that you were busy busy with some other stuff during the festival. So Reina probably came home, asked where you were, and your mom's like, oh, he's sleeping in. Where was he? And then Reina's like, must be tired from helping. Like, there's an easy conversation that can happen on today specifically because you slept in that you probably should have been awake for to stop hurting. Now I understand he's tired and couldn't have helped that, but like that's a huge that's like a yellow, at least a yellow flag in your mind, right? We're like, shit, okay. Probably shouldn't have fallen asleep so that Reina could talk to my mom and then before going to school. That's not good. Because she's gonna be like, oh, where's he? Like, now Reina might talk to Mion, and Mion might have more information. And like, if they didn't hate the cops so much, which again, like, it was literally handed a 6 for opportunity to murder someone. Like, there's a reasonable chance that he doesn't know they don't like the cops that much, but like, he doesn't have that much of a feeling of how much they dislike the cops, but like, there's a decent chance that now more people have more information about him being. It's like when you're playing Among Us. The more people who know you were away, who knew you were not in an area or didn't know where you were during the time of the incident, the more suspicious you are. So if your parents don't know where you are, and Mion doesn't know where you are, and Reina doesn't know where you are, and half the town didn't see you at the festival, it's like, wow, this guy had a lot of opportunity to murder someone now. And it's like, oh, the cops go around and they're like, oh, they're best friends. Well, that's interesting. Like, it sounds really suspicious, right? But I guess he's accepting some scolding due to the importance of what he accomplished yesterday. In fact, it felt like the sort of thing that would happen in such a peaceful life. I listened with an irresponsible smile and stepped out into the sun high overhead. Stepped out into the sun high overhead. Yeah, I didn't misread that. Okay. It was around the time lunch break would be ending. Everyone would probably be worrying about me. I didn't go to the festival and now I wasn't at school. Maybe they weren't too worried about it. since they would have gotten a small piece of news, but a happy one from Satoko today. A small piece of news that her uncle hadn't come home last night. Satoko would probably live her days in nervous tension for a while, thinking he might still come home. But eventually those days would end. He's got a lot of confidence. Let's see, when does this guy's vision of his peaceful life get completely shattered? That's what I'm waiting for. I feel like there's probably a story that you could write where this guy gets away with murder, no problem. But I feel like him getting away with this is not something that's likely to happen given his many fuck-ups here. Does that make sense? Like, you could write a story about someone who successfully gets away with murder, and that's fine. I mean, this is a horror story, but usually the horror ends poorly for Keiichi Maebara. And I feel like it would make more sense if it ended poorly for him again here. Plus, he's really screwed up in a lot of big moments that lead to some payoffs of him and through him, us feeling a lot of tension or fear as the police might unravel things, even though we only have so many chapters left, because typically this ends in 2 chapters. Or, I think all of them ended in chapter 12? In or around chapter 12, so we're close to the end. We're close to the end, but we're not at the end, and it feels like a good opportunity to make the reader or viewer feel some tension as the police uncover things and things go downhill for him. But hey, if he gets away with it, I'm still good with it. I just don't think it's gonna happen. Finally, Satoko too would realize her uncle was never coming back, especially because this guy's dreams seem less and less realistic as we get through this. Then Rika would quietly invite her. She'd say, "You can live with me again." Everything would be back to normal. Our lives would go back to how they were before that man appeared. Satoko would start wearing that extraordinary smile, complete with those protruding canines, and fool everyone with those traps she was so proud of. I'd probably be her first target out of everyone, but I wouldn't be mad. In fact, I might actually shed tears of joy at the return of something so normal. Satoko, she'd gradually grow back into that meddlesome personality of hers. I mean, my lack of useful life skills is already completely exposed. I wonder if I'd ever be a match for Satoko. But that would be such a pleasant thing to see, too. With such warm, fuzzy predictions, I didn't feel bad for going to school so late. In fact, I wanted to run there now to get there as soon as I could. Instead, I decided to savor the peacefulness of just going to school like normal without running. The world I'd obtained for myself that gave me joy just by walking like this. The world beginning on this very day was something I'd won. Without that monumental feat yesterday, I would never have been able to come to school so cheerfully today. The school gate came into sight, and just then I heard the principal ring the bell to mark the end of lunch break. It was a clear, refreshing sound. I stopped despite myself and let myself take it in. I stopped suddenly, so there was an extra footstep. With a noise, the blessedness I was feeling through my whole body withdrew into any pore it could find. Back to paranoia. As if to replace it, I felt like hundreds of hairy caterpillars were climbing at my feet. Dude, just keep walking. I turned back, but of course nobody was there. A single footstep could have easily been my imagination, but the footstep felt so ominous. The extra footstep I'd heard after seeing Takano off last night. With everything that happened on that insane night, I didn't mind something like that happening once. It had been a hell of a night after all. In fact, having just one hallucination was pretty fortunate. But those footsteps should have ended with yesterday, so if I heard them again today, there was really one thing it could have meant. Last night still wasn't over. It was still going. Still. That insane night forever. The step I heard. See, it feels like the tension's already starting. Like the author wants to punish our character for his enacting of his own justice by giving our character like some paranoia before things go downhill. You know. The step I heard, that one extra footstep, was quietly ridiculing the nonsensical notion that the world starting today was completely different from the one that ended yesterday. My classmates playing in the schoolyard all vanished inside like the tide going out. When I approached the school, it felt like that warm, fuzzy scene had ended, and it didn't feel good. I mean, all you had to do was keep walking, right? In the entrance, I took a quick look in everyone's shoeboxes. Zoko Hojo, she was here. Mion was here. And Reina, of course. Even Rika was here. Kumita and Okamura were here. In fact, I didn't see any missing classmates. If there were shoes missing, they'd have to be my own. I took my shoes off and stuck them in, and took out some slippers. There wasn't a single pair left in the shoeboxes anymore. With that, they returned to their rightful state. But as I stepped onto the wooden floor, I noticed there was just one pair of slippers left. But whose? Satoshi Hojo. The man who'd never been to school since disappearing last year. Until now, we'd committed the exact same act of violence. But I guess in the end, it went very differently. What are you talking about? He disappeared like 3 days after that you claim he murdered someone. You couldn't make it to school, but here I am. I didn't repeat the same mistake you made. I wasn't about to let myself feel superior about that. In fact, I felt an odd sense of familiarity with him. A misfortunate bond with someone I'd never met due to following the same fate. I headed down the hallway towards the usual classroom. It felt like it had been a whole year since coming here. Did you forget, Keiichi? Satoshi Hojo didn't really disappear on the night of Watanagashi, did he? He disappeared a few days later. He definitely got those. He definitely got a couple days, right? On Satoko's birthday? Yep. I didn't know what day it was. But I couldn't say for sure I'd avoided his failure. Unless I remained here past that day. I was still living that night of insanity. The teacher still hadn't come to the classroom. The other door clattered open, the one the teacher wouldn't use, so everyone turned at once to see who'd arrived. Everyone looked vacant. Suppose I'll greet them. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for coming all the way out here today. Silence. When I started to think I'd fallen flat, someone finally started laughing for... Good morning, Keiichi. You're pretty energetic today. Yeah, energetic. Maybe you haven't gotten into the festive mood yet. Hearing Mion and Reina's cheerful voices made me realize how dumb those dark feelings I'd been having at the entrance really were. Hey now, festive mood? I was at the festival, remember? Before I could say that, Rika smiled at me. Keiichi, did you make sure to watch my dance? Wait, yup. He saw it just fine. Didn't you see how big an applause he gave you? And he ignored it when that blockhead Shion came up and made a pass at him. Take that, Shion. Wow, that felt good. Mion starts laughing as the memory she slaps me a few times in the back. At the memory, as she slapped me a few times in the back. Are they trying to cover for us? So how did that target practice contest turn out in the end? Tomita was facing me and talking. There was nobody behind me. That meant he was talking to me? Tomitaki turned up dead last night. Everyone had a good time with his punishment game. Or turned up dead last. Holy shit. I read that he turned up dead last night. Oh my goodness. I'm the one getting paranoid about murders here. I literally read the first line there as Tomitaki turned up dead last night. I don't even... He turned up dead last. Everyone had a good time with his punishment game. Weren't you supposed to be the one in last place, Rika-chan? It was such a turnaround when he pulled off getting that chewing gum. I should have expected that from a member of my club. That's fantastic. Crying at a time like that is a feat only Furude would be allowed to do. Said Okamura, breathing heavily from his nose. In my direction. Everyone laughed. If anyone but Rika had done it, it would have been against the rules. Rika gave one of her smiles as she listened to it. In my direction. Randy too turned to me, turned towards me, and then with a somewhat embarrassed smile whispered to me so that only I could hear. But really, thanks, Keiichi. For what? A giant stuffed animal. I was really happy. It's nice and safe at my bedside. I made sure to give it a goodnight kiss before bed too. Ha! The class laughed at that, cheering and jeering. This is weird. This is weird, right? All of his classmates are talking like he was at the festival when he wasn't actually there. It's like, are they all secretly assuming that... Are they all playing along somehow? Are they all playing along somehow? Was there an imposter? Is there some weird timeline split where he does multiple things last night? Because they all seem to be referring to things that he did, but in a different timeline. Like he did get Reign of the Bear. He did get Reign of the Bear. Like all those are things. Like all the things they just mentioned are things that he did, but not things he did in this arc, right? The class laughed at her, cheering and cheering. This whole time, the conversation had been a bit off. I wasn't quite getting it. What's this about a stuffed animal? This? Come on, we all worked really hard at the festival yesterday to get it down, remember? That gigantic stuffed animal? The gigantic stuffed animal. Reina seemed taken aback, but when she answered, she did it with a smile. We're having a hard time knocking it over, so we tried aiming at the forehead. Rapid fire shooting and stuff. And then Keiichi, you got a whole bunch of guns ready beforehand and shot them all? It was so cool, huh? Wait, who is this? All the people in the association, including the chairman, were praising you so much at that party afterwards. One of them said he'd fallen in love with your way with words. Fukuzo Kibiyoshi, the chairman of the children's committee, I think. Said he wanted to entrust you with a few of the stalls at the next festival. Fukuzo's the chair of the refreshment booths. He's on the festival executive committee. Maebara is great at making things sound good, isn't he? Yep, whenever he talks about something, it seems a lot better than it actually is. This is super weird. Okay, I was expecting a lot of things when I got into this place. I was not expecting this. This is fucking weird. This is fucking weird, right? Like, what's going on here? I mean, everyone seems to be assuming you did things, so I'd probably... I don't know what I do here. I might try to play along with this, right? If they're all collectively claiming I did stuff, I'll just be like, yeah, sure. I'll be like, yeah, sure, that's what I did. We're just playing it wrong, right? Maybe as an aside, whisper someone and be like, I'll play. All right, gotcha. I'll play along. But like, it seems like everyone's giving you very specific details that you should probably immediately try to commit to memory. Wait. You can't say that. Keiichi, you'd make a great salesman. I bet you'd do great auctioning off overripe bananas or something. Okay, dude, you're asking too many stupid questions. Okay, think of it this way: either like everyone knows what you did and they're like playing along or being nice or some shit, or like I don't know what's going on, but you should probably try and play along instead of disrupting the village. Just try to play along. I wish our guy wasn't so fucking clueless right now. I wish our character wasn't so fucking clueless, man. This is where you play along instead of disrupting things. You know in the first arc where he saw suspicious stuff and people told him to just play along and ignore it and everything will go back to normal? You know, it felt like the curse was like either people or semi-real, and like if he just stopped, like it still felt like the curse quote unquote was real, but like everyone was telling him directly if he stopped investigating, things would go back to normal and nothing bad would happen. I feel like that's what's happening here again, where they're all telling him if he stops investigating, stops acting suspicious, and buys into their story, they'll all be fine. But he's not fucking doing it, and it's gonna be a huge problem for him. Like, they're all trying to get him to mesh in with the village, and they're like, alright, we can all work... Like, think of it this way, like, okay, maybe they know what he did, and they're just like, we're just gonna play it off like you were there. Everyone say, yes, he was there, and these are the things he did and things he participated in, and we'll all be fine. Like, maybe it's a weird supernatural incident, or maybe they're trying to help you and you're being a fucking idiot. Like, I don't know why he doesn't just play along. Then again, there hasn't been a lot of supernatural stuff this time around, or anything that would hint at the supernatural. In fact, the first arc, it felt a little supernatural. The second one, it didn't really feel supernatural till the end. This arc, it felt 100% like completely normal stuff, and now it's feeling a little bit like something's a little bit off here, which is kind of interesting. Still, I don't know why he doesn't try to play along. Just try to play along, dude. Like, this is your opportunity to like brush things under the rug, enjoy your nice day, and mess around with some fake memories. I mean, I didn't go to the festival in the first place. I swallowed those words. I didn't know exactly why, but in Hinamizawa, this is what had happened. Yesterday during the Watanagashi, Keiichi Maebara had appeared. He romped about with all the usual members of his club. Dude, like, if literal magic happens to make it obvious you weren't the fucking murderer, I don't know why you wouldn't play along with this. So yesterday, he romped around with the usual club members, made a big scene at a few of the stalls, snatched a few sticks of takoyaki and okonomiyaki in his glee, rating each as delicious or terrible to get everyone excited. They'd seen a gigantic stuffed animal at the target practice game, and everyone went after it. Then I got a whole bunch of the cork guns, firing them in rapid succession, throwing each away after using it. And admirably, I shot down the biggest stuffed animal there. I like how they actually have a picture here, although I'll be honest, the stuffed animal isn't that impressive. I was imagining one of those giant fuck off stuffed animals. You know the ones you see at festivals that are usually like hanging, and they're like fucking as tall as they're like as big as a 12-year-old or something. Like they're fucking huge. I was imagining, okay, maybe not 12-year-old, but like you know the really big plushies. I was imagining one of those. I was not imagining a bear that is like the size, I don't know, the height of the bottle there, which is like, I don't know what it's supposed to be. I mean, I would guess alcohol, but like maybe perfume or some other weird condiment. It seems fairly small, like the average stuffed animal, like the average stuffed teddy bear instead of being something crazy large. But hey, whatever. And then I gave the stuffed animal the proof of my victory to Reina as a gift. Maybe it's just weird because that's a thing we actually did in the previous arc. And then our fun came to a close as we had to go see Rika's offertory dance. There was a ton of people squeezed in there, we all got separated, but we each managed to get into good positions to cheer Rika on from. Then, in the middle, when Shion came up and asked me to go hang out with her, instead of watching the dedication dance, I refused. That's unusual. And stayed put watching the dance until the very end. Interesting. So, this time around, it's like a slight twist on what happened from the last arc. In the last arc, when we were watching the dance, we actually went with Shion. And it's like, weirdly enough, there's a version of us that supposedly was there the whole time and rejected Mion. If this is the village's way of helping us, that's kind of interesting. Or if this is the village or Oyashiro-sama's way of helping us, that would be kind of interesting. It's giving us a solid alibi of being there, right? But who? Who was that? Well, everyone's been saying it, haven't they? Keiichi Maebara? I had an urge to yell in anger at my classmates for having so much fun talking about the festival yesterday with Keiichi Maebara. What the hell are they even talking about? Dude, this is like literally the biggest break of your entire fucking life. You have a literal fucking alibi. You have like everyone is giving you a fucking alibi for the time when you were murdering someone, and your character, instead of like worshipping this as the second coming of Christ, is like, wow, this fucking sucks. What is everyone doing? It's like, dude, you are so fucking clueless sometimes. Like, literally everyone in town just gave you a fucking alibi for a murder, and you're like, man, this is fucking stupid. Far stronger than that feeling, though, was the sheer uncanny nature of this reality I couldn't understand. Dude, you're literally being given an alibi for a murder. Please, for the love of God, don't sit there and complain about it. Keiichi Maebara, who wasn't me, was in Hinamizawa yesterday. As I threw away my humanity and turned into a demon, and was busy beating Zatoko's uncle to death, I was having a great time at the festival last night. The hell? I had to suffer through so much, desperately holding back tears. Getting so worn out in that downpour, digging holes, chasing, beating, killing, dragging and burying. Who was this Keiichi Maebara who ignored me so and spent such a fun, carefree time at the festival, goddammit? Seriously, dude? Seriously? Seriously? Stop complaining about this Keiichi, this collective delusion they're trying to manifest. Who the hell stood in for me as I put my life on the line working so hard to achieve this treasure-like everyday life? Yeah, he's seriously complaining. He's seriously complaining about having an alibi. Imagine murdering someone and having an alibi and thinking it's the dumbest thing on the planet. You're like, man, this is so fucking dumb, I got an alibi. I shouldn't have, like, someone's clearly covering for you or setting you up to fail, but you're gonna whine about it? That's your first thought? If there was another Keiichi Maebara besides me, then what was I? On the night of Tatarigoroshi, where one died and one disappeared, in accordance with the curse, there was only a demon who killed someone. Dumbfounded as I succumbed to a horrifying possibility, I looked around at my classmates. I like how he's dumbfounded and frustrated that he has an alibi. Imagine having an alibi for murder and complaining that someone gave you an alibi. To make sure there was nobody extra I didn't recognize among them. To make sure I wasn't among them. It was a horrifying thought that the real Keiichi Maebara hadn't overslept and had come to school on time. That I, who was no longer Keiichi, had just waltzed in here. But no matter how much I checked, the only people here were the ones I knew. The man I met every time I looked in the bathroom mirror was not here. What? Yeah, there's no copies of you. Okay, everyone. Time to start afternoon classes. Please take your seats. President, please lead the class. The teacher entered and everyone hurried back to their seats. Upon finding me who was so stupidly late, she gave me a stern talking to, but I wasn't listening to it. Wasn't her old life supposed to start today? Something wasn't right. It was just strange. I was supposed to go back to my old fun life after yesterday. I'd set foot in an incomparably mysterious world that was completely different from both my old life and my recent one. Yeah, this was without a doubt a different world than the one I'd been living in until now. Oh my god, this guy literally just can't accept reality. Imagine killing someone and possibly getting away with it due to everyone collaborating with you, or literally reality bending to make your wish real, and you're like, time to throw a hissy fit. That life is not precisely the way you wanted it. Oh my god. Please stop. There is no way such an absurd thing could be possible. Unless it was true, I couldn't explain anything happened. I mean, in this classroom, I was surrounded by so many faces I knew, and yet I felt isolated. Jesus Christ, your paranoia is unfucking believable. Literally everyone gave you an alibi in the event someone gets fucking murdered, and your answer is like, this life is wrong. It's completely wrong. Like, god damn it, dude. This is weird. This is like way weirder than the expected paranoia that someone would find out you killed someone. Everyone's playing along with you, dude. Like, come on. The cicadas sounded no different than they had before now, but they seemed somehow false. The air was parched and dry, making me think that was the air in Hinamizawa always this uncomfortable? Seriously, dude. Hey, Reina. What is it? We're in class. About the festival. But when would you say I got there? To be honest, I was pretty excited afterwards, and I gobbled down some cans of beer. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing. I don't quite remember some things. Random babbling wasn't a bad excuse. But Keiichi, you said you didn't come at first, didn't you? You called Mi-chan's about it, right? That matched. I called Mion and told her to take Satoko in my place since I wouldn't be able to meet up with them due to things I had to do. I decided while we were setting up, we'd invite Satoko-chan. We wanted to bring her someplace she couldn't see her uncle for a while. That was the same too, yep. Mion said that when I called her, that everyone already decided to invite her. And then we all went, Mi-chan, Rika, to Satoko's house and brought her out. Satoko's uncle seems like a really mean person. That part didn't matter. What I was trying to ask was, yeah, when did I meet up with you? How could you forget that, Keiichi? I think you shouldn't be drinking until you're an adult. Whatever, when did I meet up with you? At my sudden, threatening demand, Reina was at a loss for words. I swear to God, dude. Oops, I shouldn't have rushed that. I told her I was sorry. I was at the shrine grounds. It was unexpected. You were talking to Rika, weren't you? Yep. Having a fun talk with Rika in her shrine maiden outfit. Then Reina came up and said, I'm taking you home. I was talking to Rika. I asked her, hey Chan, didn't you have something to do today? And you pounded your chest and said it yourself, that letting loose at a festival was more important than some silly errand. I didn't say that. I never say anything like that. I never even went to the shrine grounds yesterday to begin with. Dude, you're literally being given an alibi by a ghost. Stop being stupid. I never had the time to stop by a place like that. I went to dig the hole as soon as I woke up. I had a pretty hard time doing it. After that, I snuck into the school and made a call. Literally, it should just be like fishing information. Like, what did I do yesterday? How are things going? Okay, this is my alibi. and just like play along with it because your other alibi of I was doing chores for my parents is like fucking stupid. I snuck into the school, I made a call, I called him out and lay in wait. It started raining hard. With that kind of downpour, the festival should have come to a halt. In other words, it ended then. From the time the festival started to when it ended. It would have been impossible for me to have swung by the shrine grounds. I was already there when Mion and the others dragged Satoko out and brought her to the shrine. And I was talking to Rika. Then, where would Rika say we met? Jesus, dude. The teacher went out to wash her hands, so I ran over to Rika's desk and asked her directly. You? Yeah. We were talking to each other before Mion and the others got there, right? When did we see each other? I mean, when and where? I don't know what you're trying to ask. I drank so much beer I lost some of my memory. I don't remember a thing. It looked like Rika bought into my babbling. We saw each other when the mayor and others came out of the assembly hall. Could this be like a paranoia-induced hallucination or some shit and he's still like in bed? I don't know. I'm trying to figure out what this could be. You were in front of the ritual implement storehouse? Huh? What? Interesting. Interesting. That's a place we'd never been before. We never went there unless we were with Shion, right? I think. The ritual implement storehouse? Dude, this sounds like a fucking spooky... This sounds like a fucking ghost story. Like, a literal ghost manifested as us to give us a fucking, cover for what actually happened. That could be what it is, a literal ghost story, and our character is like so paranoid about this shit. Okay, now it's a little bit unnerving, like the ritual storehouse. It's seeming more and more like a literal ghost manifested. I'd never heard of a building called that before. Or maybe I have, but at the very least I wouldn't know where in the shrine grounds it was. The mayor got real angry at you. You said you shouldn't go near holy places without authority, remember? Keiichi, did you forget that too? I was too scared to ask anymore. Dude, I'm liking this. Like the ghost of Oyashiro literally covered for us. It's like, okay, this idiot's gonna need an alibi if he's gonna do my bidding. Let's just give him a fucking alibi. I'll manifest myself as a fucking ghost. That's fucking baller, man. The more I asked, the more it became clear without any doubt that Keiichi Maebara was present at the Furude Shrine Grounds during the Watanagachi Festival. Dude, that's unnerving but amazing for us, right? What would you do if, like, what would you do? Okay, like a real question. What would you do if, like, you went? What would you do if, like, a literal ghost manifested to give you a fucking alibi? Like, I don't know how I'd react to that. I don't even know how I'd react if, like, my friend called me up and it's like, hey, wanna go to, like, a Warhammer tournament or something? And I'm like, nah, man, I'm sorry, I'm busy. I'm busy on that day, I'm not gonna make it. And then he texts me the next day and is like, dude, great fucking performance. That finals match was so damn close. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, dude, you got second. And I'm like, what? Like, I don't remember, or you won the tournament, or like, what? Like, I don't remember doing that shit. Like, that would be pretty creepy. And then it's like, you look and it's like, it's your name. All your friends recognize that you'd been there. That'd be like super unnerving, right? When you're like, I distinctly remember. And then you're like, I distinctly remember, I was like doing some, I don't know, what the fuck would I be doing on a night? I don't know, I was playing some other game. Or I was streaming or recording a video, like I was distinctly busy. Maybe I was hosting an event for my family or something like that, like something where you were distinctly like super busy and couldn't have been anywhere else and you're like, the fuck? I never went to that? That'd be really weird, right? I can kind of see being a little bit unnerved by that. But he can't even ask questions because he can't say like, oh, I have alternate memories of me doing other stuff, because he can't say what he was doing, right? So the worst part of this is that it's like maybe a ghost manifested, but he can't say I was doing something else because then there'd be question about what he was actually doing. So it's like his own personal, it's like mild psychological torture. I wouldn't say it's his personal hell, because it could be really good for him. It could be fine. It's like, he wants life to go back to normal. And if Oyashiro's supporting him, that could be cool. The clearer that became, the more doubts, no, fears I had. Who on earth was I yesterday? Whoever that was, he had a good time in my place and managed to go the entire day without letting them notice I wasn't there. Alright, when did that person leave, everyone? This morning, my mother got mad at me for having stayed out so late last night, which meant at the very least, Keiichi Maebara hadn't come home while my mother was still awake. The festival would have been closed because of the downpour. If I recall correctly, when I went back to the house's storage room to get another shovel, I think the clock said 7. Since it was raining hard by then, the festival would have had to close down before 7. If I'd returned that early, I definitely would have run into my parents. Or at the very least, they wouldn't have asked me when I got back last night. So the Keiichi Maebara from yesterday, that meant he never went home. That meant the downpour happened, the festival was broken up, everyone left, but he didn't go back to the house. That means when I arrived at the natural conclusion, a wicked chill suddenly froze my spine and climbed up to my brain. That meant Keiichi Maebara was the same as Satoshi. That's the conclusion you come. You know what? That's possible. One day, he never went home. On the night of the Watanagashi, he never went home. The downpour interrupted the festival, and on the way home, he suddenly disappeared. Ooh, that's a chilling thought. The chilling thought that like that's a bit of a chilling thought, right? That's not that you're like perfectly living his footsteps or some shit. Is a little bit creepy. And that you were literally the same person. I, who was dealing with the corpse, went home without a problem. I was so tired I wasn't even hungry, so I went to my room without a sound and crawled into my futon. Who was I? That much was obvious. Keiichi Maebara. Keiichi Maebara was me. There may have been another one, but that doesn't negate the fact I was Keiichi Maebara. That the other Keiichi Maebara was what? The voices of the cicadas steadily filling the classroom were beginning to bother me. I don't know if I would have come to the conclusion that I was Satoshi. I would have more closely come to the conclusion that there had been a specter in my place. Which is, like, weird as fuck. If people have this much details, because there's no way they learned all this at a meeting, right? Like, literally every single person having a town-wide meeting isn't a thing that's happened so far, so. Let's see. Alright, the voices of the cicadas were beginning to bother me, and suddenly I laid eyes on Satoko. Her expression was dark as always. She seemed completely exhausted at a life of agony she couldn't even imagine an ending to. What had last night been for Satoko? Did she have fun with everyone and feel happier, even if for a moment? And when she went home, the end of her dream? She'd probably gone to sleep afraid of when her uncle would return. Did we hallucinate the whole murder? And then this morning, her uncle hadn't come home. And she went to school. Right now, she must have been still trapped by the rotten idea from which she couldn't be saved, that her uncle would need her when she got back. I mean, that's possible, right? I think, you better not say anything, right? In this case, if you think her uncle's dead, I just wouldn't say anything. But you can rest easy, Satoko. You know, just rest easy, relax, you'll be okay. Your uncle won't ever be coming back. I couldn't tell her it was because I killed him. When Satoko realized on her own that her uncle would never return, that would truly be the end of the long, insane night. That's right. I didn't do anything wrong. I did the best possible thing I could have as Satoko's Nini. Not an atom in my body regretted it. And look, calm down and think, Keiichi. From a certain POV, isn't it convenient there was another Keiichi Maebara? There we go, finally, some practical thought. I buried the corpse perfectly. A beginning wouldn't happen, dude. You, like, buried it 2 feet down. But if worse came to worst and it got out, and the investigation got to me, I now had a strong alibi, able to profess the fact I'd been at the festival. Accepting something so creepy and using it as an alibi, though? Still, if I proved I hadn't gone to the festival yesterday, it would do no good and a whole lot of harm. That was what left the really, actually bad aftertaste. You'll forget about it, Keiichi Maebara. Everything that happened before today. So just forget about the Maebara who was there yesterday, too. Instead, let's watch gently over Satoko for the day her smile returns, and the day that would mark the end of that insane, all too long night. That's all for today, class. Please go straight back to your homes, everyone. President, if you would. Everyone stand up, at attention, and bow. Goodbye. I thought about many things and saw my thoughts dispersed by many other things. I didn't know whether or not that time had been spent worrying or daydreaming, but either way it came to an end along with the class. Cheerfully, our classmates got their things and ran for the hallway. Mion, Reina, and Rika were packing up as well. And what about Satoko? This whole day she'd seemed deflated. Well, her uncle may not have returned last night, but she wouldn't have known he'd never return. How much I wanted to express that fact to her. She packed up her pencil box and math workbook messily, and after a dark glance at the clock, heaved a sigh. Then she went to leave the classroom. And someone placed her hand on her shoulder and stopped her. What is it? I wanted the plates I was supposed to. Got all the printouts still. Her words, possessed by a persecution complex, hurt. I spoke loudly so everyone could hear. Hey everyone! Why don't we have club today? It's been a while. Satoko always had to tend to her uncle, so club had been on hiatus. In our minds, our club was proof of a calm, peaceful life. By enjoying being together, I wanted to make Satoko realize her days of darkness were over. I'm okay. I'll do it. Meep. Meep. Well, I mean, I don't mind. If it's okay with Satoko. Under a condition. That was important. With everything up to her, Satoko gave a worried look. Come on, Satoko, it's been a while. Let's go crazy. Well, I'm happy you feel that way, but my uncle might already be home. Thus spoke her darkened eyes, her mouth unmoving. You've been choking on life every day for a while. You must be about to suffocate. It's not good for your mind or body. Once in a while, you gotta have some fun. Please, leave it alone. It's not like I don't want to do club again. With one word, but. She looked down. Satoko, you know as well as anyone, it's more fun being with everyone, right? We're friends. Means we can spend time with each other. You had a great time at the festival yesterday, didn't you? Rana nearly said something, but she was too late. Keiichi, what are you saying? My arm on her shoulder seemed to weigh her down, and she threw it off. When exactly was I playing and having fun at the festival? The only one having fun was you, Keiichi-san. I looked over to Mion for help, but now everyone was looking down. My instincts told me that Satoko hadn't gone to the festival. But Reina said it herself. She went with Mion to Satoko's to invite her. Satoko left on the way there. You didn't go to the shrine. What? I realized the absurdity of what I'd said with Satoko in front of me. She said her uncle was waiting at home and she couldn't have fun by herself when we were in front of the shrine. We tried to stop her too. We told her uncle said it was okay. He wouldn't get mad if she had a good time. At some point, tears began welling up in her eyes. Dude, oh my god, he's making assumptions about the festival that he wasn't at. I knew he'd shoot holes in his own fucking alibi. Damn it. Alright. At least he tried to accept it. Satoko was so afraid of her uncle she couldn't allow herself time with her friends and went home. No, she was even afraid of letting herself have a good time with her friends. Keiichi, you must have it nice, having a blast at the festival all night. They told me you went all out, didn't you? Very envious. Smiling to herself, her tears began to fall. I must provide for my uncle. It's completely different from you. How your parents let you do everything. Satoko. I'm glad you enjoyed yourself at the festival. I'm so glad you had enough fun for me too. I mean, I want to participate in club too. Making such a racket with everyone's so much fun. Right now, I can't. Unable to withstand such violent emotion, a few teardrops slid down her cheek. But even though she was having such a terrible time, not once did she ever say it was hard for her. It was a sad, obstinate bravery. But the days when Satoko had to feel like that were over. She didn't need to endure it, to bear it anymore. I mean, now she's just going to be paranoid for a while. I don't know how he didn't think this one through. If he disappears her uncle, she has to live in paranoia for a couple days. She could forget about it now and smile. I was so frustrated at not being able to tell her that directly. Instead, I said something that I'm not sure I should have said. Before, I thought twice about it. Like, shooting holes in his own alibi? Step 1. Shooting holes in where he actually was. Oh my god. He didn't come home, did he? Holy shit, dude! Holy shit! Who says this? I'm actually, like, dumbfounded that he's this stupid. He's like, you know what I'm gonna do now? I'm gonna imply that I knew he disappeared. And you're like, are you fucking serial? Like, how many people are around you right now? How many people are listening to you implying that he's fucking dead? Holy shit, dude. I mean, I did say he'd give away his own fucking murder at some point, but Jesus Christ, man. It wasn't even one conversation. We're in our second conversation. He hasn't made it through an entire day without implying that he knows that he got fucking murdered. Come on, man. Come on, man. I'm not asking for... I don't feel like I'm asking for much. I don't feel like I'm honestly asking for that much, but I am asking that he not give away the fact that he killed someone literally on the first day by saying, oh, your uncle didn't come home last night, did he? You're fine. You're fine. He'll never be back again. Like, are you serious? Like, your uncle disappeared. He'll never be back again, will he? Right? He'll never be back, right? It's like, what? Why would you assume that? Oh, it's a fucking idiot. Didn't come home? Who? He didn't come home last night, did he? He's still repeating it! She gave him an out! She gave him an out and he's still doing it! What the fuck? Like what? He just repeated the line, like, she gave him an out where she's like, who? What? It didn't come home? And it's like, dude! You're just throwing, like, I know he, last fucking arc, he threw superhumanly hard and got himself and Shion murdered. I can't believe that he's shooting himself in the foot so many, like, he literally just like, yeah, I know your uncle's not coming home again. Like, shoots himself in the foot by saying that in day one, when no one has any evidence or no one even suspects that he's missing. And then she gives him an out and she's like, huh, what? And he's like, oh, I'm just gonna like, oh, well, that bullet in my foot didn't hurt enough. I'll just aim at my thigh. Bam! Like, come on, dude. Alright. What are you talking about, Keiichi-san? Did I go shadow with Arbite? God fucking damn it! He's making a memory for everyone in their heads, because now her emotions are high, everyone's yelling, people will remember this conflict, and they'll remember what she says, what he says, because it's memorable. Oh my god. I'm so frustrated that Keiichi is making up such bullshit. When has he not been there? When? Calm down. Fuck! Come on, man! That's the third time he said it! Stop saying this shit! Jesus Christ! This reminds me of what is it, like, it's like, it feels like almost the opposite of like, it feels like, it's like, what was it, what did I want to say? It reminds me, in a really weird way, this reminds me of I forget which book of the Bible it is. It's one of the 4 main Gospels where Peter gets the option to, where Peter denies Jesus 3 times before the day's over. You know that? And he's like, I'd never do that, and then he fucking does that. And that's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing here, where it's like you're given every opportunity not to shoot yourself in the foot, and he goes out of his way, not once, but 3 times in rapid succession. To the point where you're like, is this a real thing? Like, he said it not once, not twice, but 3 times. 3 is like such an ominous fucking number, man. I mean, he didn't come out, or did he? Come on, Keiichi. I don't understand what you're trying to say, Keiichi-san. I don't understand what you're trying to say either, Keiichi. Because you know what? The way you're saying it sounds, I fucking killed him. He's not coming back. Like, are you serious, dude? You said it 3 times. Stop saying it. It's like he just can't stop shooting himself. Come on, man. Satoko, what are you talking about? Fuck, man! Holy shit! He doesn't stop. He doesn't stop. It's like he's shot himself in the thigh. He's bleeding out, and he's like, fuck, I'll just shoot myself in the head now. Come on, man. Oh. Alright, that man, I killed him. I killed him yesterday for sure. And again, I have no clue if he's saying this out loud. I buried him. I buried him whole. He can never return to his house. Even yesterday, he was torturing me so much. He yelled at me. He shouted at me. He found fault with everything I did. He threw the dinner I made him on the floor. He dumped his bowl of miso soup on me, too. It was hot. It was messy. I cleaned all of it up. I cleaned. He won't. Will fucking Keiichi Maebara stop fucking shooting himself in the foot, making himself look like a fucking serial killer? She's ranting about how much he tortured her. And our character is ranting about how he fucking killed him in public in front of 3 other fucking people. Like, come on, dude. Come the fuck on. Just stop. I guess this is why serial killers, this is why murderers always get caught, because they literally can't shut their fucking mouths for 2 minutes. But how they killed someone. Like, Jesus, man. The only appropriate response when you fucking murder someone and hide it is just to realize you're never going to mention this. I know our character has like the loosest lips of anyone in the fucking city, but come on, man. This is actually like superhumanly stupid. I mean, like it is so obvious this is not what he should be saying, but all he can do is like, it's like he's not actually doing this because he thinks it's right or because he thinks it will solve problems. It's actually that he's just like, he's like an actual serial killer where he can't help but want to display his killing prowess to everybody else by being like, oh, I killed him. Like, come on, dude. We've been like, this is your first actual full conversation with someone that wasn't limited by time, and all you can do is spout off how much you killed someone. Like, please, dude. For 5 minutes. I cleaned all of it up. Ah! And yeah, you made Satoko cry. What? Our stories weren't matching up. And this morning, when he woke me up to make me breakfast, he got so mad at me. He'd have gotten mad at me whether I got up or not. Ah! Satoko, what? Rika went over to Satoko and said a few words of consolation. But Satoko angrily refused those words and thrust Rika away. How much more is this guy gonna dig himself into a hole? He's pissing off Satoko, making everything seem insane. Like, oh my god. This guy is literally like, already lost his fucking marbles. This guy, I swear, I want to like slap Keiichi, but I wanted to do that last session too, so that's fine. All right, no more complaining about Keiichi. We've gotten out our frustration. Hini, come back! Ah! Crying, Satoko slowly walked out into the hallway. After a moment, Rika went after her. I couldn't stop thinking about the words Satoko had spoken while crying. I buried her uncle last night, but she said this morning. That's impossible. I buried him last night. She couldn't have seen her uncle this morning. What was Satoko? At that point, I heard Mion's cold voice. Dude, like, I don't know how hard this guy can possibly fuck up, but we'll find out. Hey, Kei-chan, what did you mean about Satoko's uncle? I mean, Mion's not stupid. Mion's not stupid, so you just like... Gulp. I said too much, I let my emotions get the better of me. Dude. Yeah. Rena heard it too. You said Satoko's uncle didn't come home. Why? Why didn't he come home? That's strange. Satoko's uncle was right there this morning, wasn't he? Why would you say he didn't come back? Come back? Kei-chan, you've been saying weird things for a while. Suddenly, Mion and Rena started to speak in strange, creepy voices. What were they doing? What were they saying? Kei-chan, is it somehow inconvenient for for Satoko's uncle to be around? No, what are you talking about? Of course it would be better if his uncle wasn't here. Yep, that's true of course. If only he weren't here, right? Something wasn't right. The next thing I knew, Mion and Rena were smiling thinly and their eyes were dark and muddy in a way I'd never seen before. As our eyes met, the mud seemed to fill the air. Satoko's uncle's an awful person, no doubt. I think we'd all be better off with him gone just as much as you do, but he's here. There's nothing we can do, right? Nothing we can do. Something's wrong. Something's clearly wrong here. The hell's happening? After a moment, a chilly, liquid-like feeling, as though blood had been mixed with sorbet? crawled up my spine. No choice. I mean, of course there isn't, but Satoko will never... There's no choice. What would you do? Reina was trying to prod me to say more. I'd probably call Child Protective Services, say that. There really was no choice, so I killed him. I killed him to protect Satoko. That's... Leave him alone. I think things will resolve themselves soon enough. Satoko said his uncle was here, so he's here. He was here yesterday, and he's here today. She said so it's fine, right? Right? Mion and Reina were speaking so unbelievably dismissively. Can I no more complaining, right? I'm stopping myself from complaining about this. How could they be talking like that? Mion and Reina, they were my friends. They were seriously worried about Satoko's abuse, weren't they? They'd never blurt out something like this. And I definitely killed Satoko's uncle. No matter what Satoko or anyone else says, I wouldn't acknowledge it. Because him being alive was impossible. There's no way he's alive. It's impossible. And yet Satoko herself said he was here, that he was alive. I didn't know why or how, but suddenly Mion and Reina were at my side, standing there silently. Let's go home, Keiichi. After we leave, Reina wants to go treasure hunting for the first time in a while. Mii-chan's coming too. Keiichi, you should come along. Of course, you're not allowed to refuse. If words could freeze blood, and there was no doubt they would have frozen me solid. I could hear it, a strained sound like a layer of thin ice spreading, emanating from every joint in my body. And with them closely at my sides, we left the school as if they were police officers taking me away. They talked about silly things the entire way home like they always did, but they always stood at my sides as if to prevent me from escaping. This was strange. Everything about this day was strange. It actually had been strange since the previous night. Thinking back, it had been strange since killing Satoko's uncle. The creepy meeting with Takano was only the beginning. That insane night was still continuing, yet it still hadn't ended. What? What's wrong, Keiichi? Why'd you suddenly stop? Sorry, it's nothing. When I stopped, it was distant, but I definitely heard them. An extra set of footsteps. That was proof. Proof that the insane night hadn't ended. Mion left where she usually did, and finally we came to my house. Okay, Keiichi-kun, wait here for me. Reina will come pick you up soon. What was it? She was inviting me along on one of her oversized garbage treasure hunts at the dam site, right? But why now? Mion coming along was strange too. She may have accepted Reina's little hobby, but she hated fishing through garbage. She'd never come with her before. And the location specifically being the dam site, that was a little creepy. The dam site was completely outside the flow of everyday life. It was so remote no one even went there unless they thought to in particular. Okay, dude, let's think about this for 2 seconds. The dam site is isolated. Now, I mean, do you think you're going to be killed by your friends? Probably not. Or you think you're going to be slapped for being a fucking idiot? Possibly. You know what I do? I since I've said this like 20 times earlier, check with your shovels. Check the state of the shovel. And also, check the state of the shovel. Nobody lived there, and there were no lights, so at night it got dark very quickly. I was being forcibly invited there. There was no reason I had to fear Reina and Mion. Besides, wouldn't the trouble I'd make by refusing them be a pain to deal with? In that way, it didn't seem like going treasure hunting with them was a bad idea, but that insane night was continuing. Haven't the sirens of instinct been wailing in my head for a while now? Warning me that Reina and Mion were strange? That I needed to be cautious? The warning signs were so freaking loud it felt like my head would split in two. This guy just won't accept... He's doing that thing where he won't go back to an early... Reina? Really, dude? I actually have something to do. Something to do? Like what? Like what? It's just I have something to do, okay? If you had something to do, why didn't you say it when Mii-chan was here? I already told her to meet her at the dam site before we split up. Reina was smiling, but her words made her discomfort clear. I don't know why he's being so hostile to them. They're literally doing nothing but giving him outs, and he's like fucking up as hard as humanly possible. Sorry, I just kind of missed the opportunity to say so. I don't know what he's planning on doing, because he hasn't mentioned having to go get his shovel back. Like, he didn't mention going to get his shovel back, in his head, that is. So I don't know what the fuck he thinks he's gonna do. Like, other than stay at home and be depressed and stupid. Just make himself look suspicious. It's like, if you can make yourself look as... Oh, no. Okay, we'll move on. You're lying, aren't you? You made it up now, you liar. That's what Reina's eyes said to me. My head hurts. Great excuse. I have a headache. I might have a cold. So I wanted to go get it checked out, get some medicine. Really? That wasn't really a lie. My head did hurt a bit, so I wasn't lying. Reina, she couldn't figure out if my head hurt or not just by looking at it. Yes, that's it. After staring me in the eyes for a few moments, she fired a sharp, needle-like glare at me. How would she do this? You say, hey, I need to get some pain. I'm gonna take some painkillers. I'll be right out. That would work. I mean, what would you do if you had a headache and you were planning on doing something with a friend? I personally would probably just be like, well, I guess I'm taking painkillers and trying to hang out with them unless it's really fucking bad. The tension in my body loosened and I felt like my knees might buckle. This feels like the same opportunity he had, This feels like the same opportunity he had in the first arc to make things go back to normal. Am I the only one that thinks that's the case? Like, it feels like it's the same opportunity he had in the first arc, where they were like, ignore things and it'll go back to normal, and then he decides to escalate as hard as he possibly fucking can, and gets fucking murdered for it. That's what it feels like here, where everything he does drags him down. And he should just be like going along with the things instead of trying to like make as much of a disruption as possible. What he should be doing is going on this adventure with her, relaxing, having a good time, and enjoying his days. If he gets disappeared and murdered, so be it. But like, it doesn't seem like by causing more problems that he'll evade his fate. It's like if you have a bad fate coming and there's nothing you can do about it, doing your like stupid bullshit where you make as much trouble as possible and don't actually solve anything isn't really helping. Alright, if you're gonna go to the clinic, you should go soon. Sometimes they close early. Thanks, I'll do that. Make sure you go, okay? The hospital? I'd like to point out that Takano works at the hospital, so him going there is really stupid. It's like, if you had to pick one building in town to go to, him going to see Takano the day after he fucking killed someone is a stupid idea. When she's like, we're not supposed to interact or pretend we saw each other, and now he's inevitably gonna probably like talk about how they saw each other last night and thank her for the ride or something, and she's like, are you fucking serious? Like, she's gonna be like, either you're insane, what you're talking about, but I think she's actually dead, so she's probably not gonna be there. But like, in his mind, what is he thinking a conversation with Takano is gonna be like? Because I feel like if he talked with Takano and she was actually there, he'd probably say something like, thanks for the ride last night. I will. No, for real, I will. It seemed like Reina realized I was going to refuse her invitation for a while now. With how serious she looked, she might actually call the clinic to make sure I went. I couldn't say anything careless. Lying about getting checked out was an excuse to decline her request in the first place. It didn't matter whether I actually went. Yeah, I'll go. If you want, I can bring you the bill tomorrow. Oh, that'd be good. Be sure to bring it, okay? Reina will look at it then. Another tingle started crawling up my back. There is no ignoring it. Reina and Mion must have been monitoring my movements. This wasn't normal. Far from it. All of it was insane. And everything that you're doing is insane, honestly, dude. Like, everything you do is completely fucking insane right now. I don't know what he's doing, but it's stupid. I did what I did because I wanted my peaceful life back, but what on earth was all this? All of this? You mean the stuff where you ignore the fact that you have your peaceful life back and you're acting like a dumb shit paranoid motherfucker? That's all on you, my dude. It was far from peaceful. Something had gone mad, leaving the world out of order. With the other Keiichi Maebara, with those creepy footsteps I'd been hearing, with Reina and Mion acting so curious, and above all, with him being alive. Where was I? In Hinamizawa village, Shishibone. I knew that much. Was this really the Hinamizawa I knew? Hey, Keiichi Maebara, where is this? I asked, whipping around before the front door to face the one who'd been following in my wake all day. Nobody would have been there, of course. Keiichi Maebara, huh? That's what I just called him, the one who'd been trailing behind me this whole time. The shadowy presence clinging to me like it was constantly watching for the opportunity to change places. I feel like this is like... I feel like his paranoia is somewhat justified, because he killed someone breaking a major taboo. And like, maybe having a mental breakdown and being paranoid is kind of believable when you do that, if you're not mentally prepared. But I don't know what's going on with the series of events his friends are putting up. Either they're trying to give him an alibi and he's sabotaging it as hard as possible, or he was transported to another timeline. Footsteps were always following me. It was another impossibility. Couldn't have been a ghost. It was just impossible. The strangeness must have been my ears, my head, or Hinamizawa? Everything I could see was the exact same Hinamizawa I knew so well, and that gave me the creeps. Eventually, I decided to go to the clinic. I really didn't want to go outside, but a stronger feeling than the desire was the fear that Reina might actually be keeping an eye on me to see if I went to the hospital. But before I went to the clinic, there was something I wanted to make sure of. It was at school. I pretended I'd forgotten something. I was going back to the classroom to pick it up. As soon as a thought crossed my mind, I was overwhelmed by paranoia. I was just going to the classroom, but I hated it so much, having to be careful to fake it. You know, I don't hate this idea. After carefully verifying once more that no one was watching, I went over to the locker. He's checking to see if the baseball bat's still there. Because he threw the baseball bat into the swamp. Right? He threw the baseball bat into the swamp? Yes, Satoshi's locker. I committed the crime with a bat I found in this locker. Satoshi's bat. And then I threw it into the swamp. Which meant the bat shouldn't have been inside. But, what if the bat was still in there? It was a dreadful, incomprehensible idea, but if it was true, it would explain a lot. If the bat was in here, then yesterday's events would have been a delusion. No, an illusion. I hadn't killed anyone, and had gone to the festival. I had a great time rampaging with everyone. It would prove that Keiichi Maebara was really me. Proof that I was the only one, or some strange assumption that I had killed Satoko's uncle. Proof that it had been a wild fantasy. That would explain everything. Nothing happened yesterday. I'd gone mad, unable to separate my shocking, uncle-killing dream from reality. That would explain everything. If the bat was there, would I be able to accept that reality? If it was here, nothing will have changed. If it was here, it would just mean I'd gone crazy. Preparing myself for the worst, I opened the locker door. I was actually scared of opening it slowly, so I threw it open with a bang. And just like the first time, the choking scent of smell and sweat, like a stale towel, came flowing out. There was a baseball uniform and some miscellaneous other things like notebooks. There was also a shoe pouch. And as for the bat, it wasn't here. It was how I left it when I took the bat out. There was no doubt, yesterday really happened. Now that I knew I wasn't a lunatic, I felt relieved, but at the same time, if I wasn't the crazy one, then Hinamizawa was... And that was evidence of a reality I found just as difficult to accept. There was noise somehow creeping into everything I saw, and the world was losing a tiny bit of color. What did I know about last night now? Now that I made sure the bat wasn't there, I didn't need to be here anymore. Shall I go? For real? To the hospital? It was my first time going to the hospital, but from what I heard, it wasn't far from school. My mom told me where it was. A big, easy-to-see road went straight there. Okay. So the bat's not there. This is interesting. Is everyone covering for him, and is he throwing as hard as possible? I went past the shopping street, made a turn. Or maybe he killed the wrong person, right? It wasn't hard to spot the sign with the eerie clinic written over it. There was one other person, an older man, in the air-conditioned waiting room. I went to the counter and told him it was my first time here. The man behind the counter glanced at the clock and said there'd be a short wait. It was almost 5. Clinic hours would be ending soon, and as I sat in this unfamiliar waiting room, isolated from everyone and let myself feel the cool air, I felt relieved. What should I tell the doctor when he comes? I could tell him I had a cold, but I was the very picture of health. I wanted him to check my head. I wanted someone to confirm for me whether I was sane or not. Keiichi Maebara, please come to the examination room. Oh, the voice from the other side of the curtain. I thought I'd heard it somewhere before. Oh, hello. It's the doctor. This is the first time we've seen each other here. Coach, you're a doctor? Now that you mentioned it, he seemed to know his way around when he was looking over at my shoulder in the nurse's office. It would make sense if he was actually a doctor. Come to think of it, our teacher called him Ire-sensei, right? Didn't she? Yeah, I'm more or less a doctor here. Doctors have it really good, you know? You get to see and touch all that young, silky smooth skin. Oh my god, this guy's back to being creepy. I could inject them with a weird chemical that'd make them my slaves, have them be my personal mates. Thanks, just seeing that made my cold go away. I'll be leaving now. Polite bow. He actually said polite bow. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's up? A joke, it was a joke. Now come, sit down and let me take a look at you. I'll need to use my stethoscope, so show me your silky smooth chest, Maebara. For some reason, I actually felt relieved. After that insane night, as much as I thought everything had gone crazy, Coach was here doing the same thing he always did, and I was happy for that. You don't seem to have a cold. Actually, these scrapes and cuts all over seem to be the painful thing. Don't tell me you were playing in the bushes with short sleeves and shorts. I like how he's giving the doctors more evidence. If someone comes asking about him, this is like this is really bad for him too. Oh goodness. I mean, I can't say for sure you haven't been infected with tetanus, but as far as chasing that man last night, I kept being scraped by bits of trees. I didn't realize I had so many cuts. You went a little too crazy at the festival yesterday. Enjoy that while you're young. And once again, I apparently went to the festival. Coach, did you go too? The festival? Yeah, of course I did. I might be a doctor, but I'm also on the Tatarigoroshi executive committee. Did you see me there? Coach was the same coach I'd always known. I felt like I could trust him more than my weird friends, so I asked. Well, actually, I was drinking in the main tent with the chairman and the others the whole time. I didn't go out to see the festival at all. I don't think I saw you. Oh. That was a strange question. Did you have too much to drink and forget about what happened last night? And underage, too, you bad chub. Coach let out a laugh. He didn't laugh in an unnatural way like Mion and Reina did. Coach was okay. He's the coach from the world I knew. He wasn't someone from this abnormal world. Well, this might seem weird to you, but I want you to hear me out without laughing. Go ahead. I don't remember... Okay, so let's see how badly he can lie. I'm going to fabricate a lie first. I'm going to fabricate a half-truth. I'm going to say, I don't remember being at the festival at all last night. My friends told me what I did, but I don't remember it all. Is this a problem? Like, my head's feeling a little bit weird, and he'll probably say something like, oh, you probably have a hangover. I'm surprised it lasted this long. Here's some, like, water or, like, I don't know, like a fucking saline solution or some shit to, like, replenish your body. That would probably be, like, the right thing to say. Let's see what our character says. Because that would be, like, you know, your character is, like, kind of, like, might be a bit of a dumbass, but he might have forgotten. He might not have, like, realized how to handle alcohol. That might be. The coach would think that. The coach would check him over. That'd be the conclusion. I welcome any shy, bashful worries you might have as you come into your secondary sex characteristics. He acted. Could it be possible? I have an identical twin. That's what he's going with. Coach hadn't expected that question at all and couldn't say anything for a moment. But then he smiled calmly and quietly answered. This is just superstition, but I've heard before everyone has two other people in the world who look just like them. If there was, I'd certainly like to meet him, though. Also, there's plenty of fairy tales where a person's double appears. The German ones about doppelgangers are probably the most famous. Doppelgangers? Yes, they look exactly like another person. Apparently they herald misfortune, and if you meet one, you're sure to die soon. That's how it went, I think. When you meet them, you're sure to die? I can hear the strings. Or... I can hear the tension in the audio. They're definitely giving me a cue that things are... spooky. The story ended directly in death, plain and simple, and it made my spine tingle. Great, our character's gonna descend into paranoia. Coach wasn't saying it to scare me, though. He was offering a casual anecdote. But it made it feel all the more real. Our character is such a scaredy cat. Have you ever heard of one of those things showing up in Hinamizawa? Why is this the direction our character's taking this line of questioning? What? Well, I can't say I have. Coach must have thought he was being teased, so he laughed in an exaggerated way. When I didn't smile, his laughter steadily grew fainter. Sorry, Will. I was sort of being serious. No, I apologize for laughing. Was there something you were worried about? I wondered how I should tell him, and after resolving myself one final time... I didn't go to the festival yesterday. This kid Okay, no complaining. No complaining, me. No complaining. Is that right? Well, it'll be on next year, and then you can... That's not what I meant. I didn't go to the festival, but according to everyone else, I was there. Could that be possible? After blinking his eyes in amazement, Coach seriously thought about what I was trying to say. And he answered, choosing his words carefully. Let me make sure I have this straight. You went to the festival, but don't remember it, am I right? Please say that. Say, I don't know. Say, I don't know. This is the right answer. I was trying to say something completely different. I suppose any sane person would come to the conclusion. Okay, if you say I know I didn't go, then you're saying, then he might ask you what you were doing, and you have to come up with another lie. You don't want to come up with compounding lies. That night, Keiichi Maebara was at the festival, but I was saying I didn't go. That obviously meant my memories of going there had failed me. But that was absolutely impossible. The vivid act I committed during the downpour couldn't possibly have been an illusion. All these scrapes on my body prove it. So does the fact the bat wasn't in the locker. And you can't use these as evidence. I don't know why you're going to a doctor for this, because a doctor will report you to the police for murder. That's not it, Coach. I really didn't go to the festival. Don't take offense, Maebara. Have you ever had an experience where you were suddenly somewhere unfamiliar and you couldn't remember why? No, and I didn't lose memories or anything, because while the festival was going on, I was definitely doing something else. It wasn't like I was asleep and unconscious or anything. You're certain you were doing something else? I know I'm being awfully rude. Are you sure you're not mistaken? I know I'm not. My memories are clear as day, and they felt real. During the festival, you weren't at the shrine, and you were doing something somewhere else. Can you definitely prove that? Right, so now you're digging yourself a hole for your murder case. Good job, buddy. Just keep digging that hole. That's right. Thinking it through brought me to this. There was only one way to prove I wasn't at the festival, and that was to show there was no doubt I killed her uncle. Coach saw me struggling to answer, and his eyes looked cold. I guess they would. After all, from Coach's perspective, I was just a weirdo sputtering nonsense. Would you like to lay down? Maybe you should relax. Take it easy for a bit. Sorry. I didn't really come here to lay down. You seem to be a little worked up. Why don't I give you a sedative that'll let you sleep for a bit? That way... I'm not being strange! I realized Coach was treating me like a deviant, so I raised my voice. I'm sorry if I've offended you. Please calm down. I definitely didn't go to the festival. That's the truth. I understand. So please calm down, take a deep breath. No, you don't understand at all! Coach was stunned and stared in stupefaction. Oh my god, why is our character whatever. I do understand, Maebara-san. You didn't go to the festival yesterday. Is that right? From Coach's perspective, this guy is just like not remembering and claims that he did something else, so he might have been dreaming. That's probably Coach's perspective. I believe you. Coach jotted down a brief note in his records. He was writing it in German. Nice. 10 out of 10. The coach is just like, it's his writing is so bad. Imagine writing Japanese so poorly it looks like German, or actually writing it in German, who knows. I'm just going to imagine that he wrote he's a doctor, right? He wrote so messily that he thought it was German. So that his patient wouldn't know what it said. But I could make a good guess as to what he wrote. Oh, I want to pull at my hair sometimes. You won't believe me until I tell you everything I was doing at the time, will you? No, I believe you. Please sit down. Before I sat, I tilted my head back a little. The blood in my face drained out, and I quieted down. After taking a deep breath, I made sure I was calm now. It would have been impossible for me to be at the festival, because at the time I was... Should I tell him or not? The answer is no. The answer is no, but he's thinking of doing it. I really didn't want to go on living like this, feeling this horrible. I said then the final fatal words. I was killing Satoko's uncle at the time. Seriously, dude. This is where we're going? I could smell the concrete in the room, and I feel the air around us sharpen. Nobody moved. Only the sound of the clock ticking told us time hadn't stopped. With his mouth wide open, Coach even forgot to blink for a while. You killed Satoko's uncle. Yeah, it's fine now, Keiichi. I don't even know what to say. I thought it was bad when he was implying that he killed it directly to Satoko so she'd feel better. I don't understand why he's flexing here too, but I'm also not a murderer, so maybe I don't understand why people do this, but alright. Yeah, it's fine now, Keiichi. Don't hesitate. Admit it with all your strength. Yeah, last night I killed him. I spoke clearly and fluidly. I could easily tell Coach's mind went completely blank. Why would you? No. That's a foolish question. I believed it was the most direct method of saving Satoko, so I carried it out. I don't have any regrets. I see. Coach smiled thinly and nodded a bit. So I couldn't have been at the festival. I left the brightness of my house for the darkness of the outside, and after that I dug holes, phone calls, I had my hands full. And then I attacked him, killed him, and buried him. It was pouring hard at the time. The festival started, and was suspended due to rain. There were no gaps in my memories from the late afternoon until it started to rain. There was no time for me to have possibly gone to the festival. And those wounds, are they from that? Yeah. There's a road through the forest near the house. I attacked him there, he ran, but I chased him and finally killed him near the road that leads to town. Is that true? Killing her uncle, it wasn't some wild fantasy? I could tell Coach didn't believe me, so I spoke slowly, not letting myself go or said, it's true, I killed him with Satoshi's bat. I threw it in Uncle's motorbike into the swamp. I dug a hole, killed him, and buried him. I did it all by myself. Satoko's uncle drove past you on a motorbike, did he? You practiced, so he'd do that and just waited? I assumed he wouldn't be leaving his house that day, so I lied to him over the phone to get him. Why is he doing nothing but spouting the information instead of asking how this relates to his question? Like, I know he's like a fucking dumbass, but he should be trying to solve the matter of his like temporary insanity if he's really that's what you called him. Your house is so far away from Satoko's. It wouldn't have been like he's literally just getting evidence for the police at this point, right? Like your character is apparently here because he has a headache. Your character's apparently here because he has a headache. And because his memories don't line up with what his friends are telling him happened. And our character is literally doing nothing but just providing examples of how and why he, like, examples of exactly how he killed him, which is literally just nothing but ammunition for the police. I don't really get what he's doing here. It seems, like, if his actual reason for going to the hospital is to get information, why is he not asking the doctor, like, hey, like, I remember these things, but it's not important. I remember these things, but my friends are telling me different things happened. And obviously his friends are telling him different things happened because, like, maybe they're covering for him or something. But, like, it seems really stupid to be, it seems really stupid to me to not be getting the answers because you should know that this doctor is literally going to write you up and send you to the police. Like, he's going to call the police 5 minutes after you leave and have an investigation there. But you're not doing that. It seems so weird. I can't be the only one who thinks, why is he doing this? He's literally exposing himself, gonna get himself sent to jail. And for what? For what? I don't understand. Because his friend's stories and his don't sync up, but he's not pushing into that story. He's just sitting there telling him how he murdered someone. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but okay. I used a phone close to where I was going to attack him, the one at the school. But Maebara, it was Sunday. Wouldn't the school have been locked up? A forest ranger went inside for a bit. I slipped in when I had the chance. After that, Coach grilled me on a few different things regarding the incident. He made sure to question me carefully, looking for any contradictions in my account. I'll believe you. What you did yesterday doesn't seem like a dream. I explained everything, including minor details that only someone who'd actually committed the act could explain. I could, of course. It was only yesterday. Coach realized my story had no expedient coincidences or too convenient details that would have existed in a daydream or delusion, and finally seemed to want to believe me. So do you still think I went to the festival and lost my memory? Coach slowly shook his head. Everyone in class said I was at the festival yesterday. Is that even possible? No, it's not. Your classmates mistook you for someone who looks similar. Given how group psychology works, everyone just assumed you'd been at the festival? They couldn't have mistaken me. Mion said they were spending time with Keiichi. I can't tell if he's saying this out loud. I really wish he was saying this out loud because it's not clear if he was. There's no quotation marks though. I hate that. Alright. I really wish it was clear that he was saying this out loud. Or not. But saying that out loud would just confuse Coach. Why doesn't he say this though? That's the whole point of his coming here, right? If he's coming here, whatever. Okay. I'm gonna be like Einzelgaum, where I'm gonna like get worked up out of how stupid our character's being, and then suddenly my stop complaining, warning things in my head, and I just stop complaining. Saying that out loud would confuse Coach. The literal thing you're here to talk to Coach about would confuse Coach, so you're not going to do it, but you're going to commit to murder. You're so obsessed with figuring out why your memory doesn't match up with your friends say that you're going to admit to murder, but you're not going to admit to other people's accounts and how that's confusing. You're just going to admit to murder and do nothing else for Coach? That's confusing. Okay. Do you feel guilty? It didn't sound like he was criticizing me. See? We're not even on the fucking fact that his accounts of his friends don't line up because he didn't say his accounts of his friends lines up. He just says he didn't go to the thing. Like, it seems really weird. The way he's saying things seem really weird. I don't understand our kid's logic here. Okay. Even if I had, I would have flatly said the same thing. I don't. I did it so I could return to the peaceful days he'd stolen from us. But you aren't returning to the peaceful... whatever. So I plan to forget about having killed him and live my life as usual. Once Satoko's regular smile returns, the one before he showed up, everything will be over. Any chance someone witnessed the crime? I don't think so. If someone saw me, I would have been arrested already. I'm a doctor. My job's to save lives, so I can't make any statements to the effect of condoning taking another's life, so instead I'll say this. Coach rose and placed a hand on my shoulder. For saving Satoko, I thank you. His eyes started shedding warm tears. When I looked at him... I don't understand. He is admitting to murder, but he needs to point out the fact that Satoko said her uncle was there, so he probably killed the wrong person. I don't understand why he's doing this. He's like... It's really frustrating to not understand. Satoko literally yelled at him, saying her uncle was beating her in the morning, when he literally claims to have murdered him. But he hasn't said that to the coach. He's like, that would be too confusing, so I'm not going to tell him the part where my mind is not matching up with reality, and that's why I have a problem. He's just telling him I killed someone, and you're like, yeah, but what's your evidence? Like, whatever. When I looked at him, I started to feel some tears of my own. I didn't know what I was crying for, and so for a little while the two men in the room fought back their tears. But it's strange. What is? I'm sure I killed him, yet he seems to have returned home alive. Coach's expression immediately sharpened. Depending on the situation, there's many ways mere unconsciousness can look like real death to a layperson. Do you think it's possible he was just knocked out? I didn't check for a pulse, but I'm pretty sure I did him in. Can I ask you to reproduce the situation in which you attacked him, Maebara? Coach rolled up a Health and Fitness Week poster nearby and offered it to me to represent the bat. Though I may have lost to the emotions of a beast that night, I remember from the detail the number of times I swung the bat, the angles I swung from, the force I applied. Using Coach as a stand-in, I reproduced them over and over, one by one. And when he tripped and fell, I bashed him in the top of the head like this. When I did, it felt different from the other strikes. I thought I'd cracked his skull. He was calmly analyzing it, using the places I'd struck and the situation at hand to find out what state his body was in. I wasn't sure he was dead, so I hit him a few more times after he fell. Did he react? At first, his body jolted with each hit, but eventually it stopped and he didn't react at all. Coach folded his arms and said a few times, and then he spoke. He's dead. There's not much doubt about it. He didn't just look like he was? I can't say much from your story, Maebara, but I think it's almost certain. Besides, you buried the corpse in the mud, and that took you a while, right? Let's say it took you 30 minutes. That would mean he was buried under muddy water for those 30 minutes. If you don't breathe for that long, your brain will die no matter what. You mean, ignoring how hard I hit him, he'd definitely have died while I was burying him? That's right. It's impossible to stay alive buried underground for 30 minutes. Impossible. You're right, but Satoko says he's alive. Coach, a doctor, gave his stamp of approval. He was dead for sure. That made it seem all the more unfair he could be among the living. Maebara, this is a really horrible idea, but is it possible the person you killed wasn't actually your uncle? I mean, that's the most obvious conclusion. I don't know why our character didn't immediately jump to that, but yeah. He's right, that could be why. It cleared up the inconsistency of definitely having killed someone, but him being alive. There's no way. I mean, we're both Satoko's house? There's a man who stuck his face out the window to look. It was him, right? That was Satoko's uncle, right? Yeah, you're not wrong. It was that man. Did she have more than one uncle? Not one I've ever heard of. I mean, I think it's completely reasonable to say he didn't kill the uncle. But I've also, like, if it wasn't for people claiming he was at the festival, I would say there's a very, very, very real chance that he killed the wrong person. But the weirdness of him apparently being at the festival is what makes it he killed the right person. It's just him. Could you tell me what he looked like? His height first. He was about 175 centimeters, maybe a little taller. In order to eliminate the worst possibility that I killed someone else, Coach began to thoroughly compare what the man in his mind looked like with what I told him the person I killed looked like. No matter how in-depth my description went, none of the characteristics differed. The uncle's traits, according to Coach, were the same as the person I'd killed, but those traits were vague and they weren't particularly distinct at a glance. Is there anything else about him that let us identify him for sure? Now that you mention, I've never seen it, but I believe Satoko said he had a tattoo of a tiger or something on his back. A tattoo? That's important. Not everyone had a tattoo. If I found a tiger tattoo on the back of the man's corpse, it would be proof I killed the right one. At the moment, there's only one other thing that could verify this. To go to Satoko's house and see for myself the uncle that had returned home despite having died. That was far more terrifying than digging up the body and looking at its back, though. Without looking at the tattoo, I knew for sure the one I killed had been Satoku's uncle. I cracked his head open and killed him. You're certain. Yet he'd gone back home. There wasn't any misunderstanding or even a shadow of doubt in my mind about having killed him. And yet, it was impossible for him to exist, like how Keiichi Maebara had been at the festival, despite it being impossible. That small commonality made me feel as though a faint but bizarre force was permeating this insane city. I wonder, what on earth could have happened? Despite you not going to the festival and killing Satoku's uncle, you were at the festival and the uncle you killed is alive. None of this makes sense. When I look at everything that way, it's almost like having a nightmare, but there's no killer at all. But it's the truth, the sensation as I use my own hands, the bat. There's no illusion to dream. Coach let out a long sigh, and then after looking at the clock, got up. Let's go over this a little more seriously. If you'll excuse me, I'll go put on some tea, aka call the police. Clinic's about to close after all. I need to let the other employees leave. Does our character not realize that him leaving to go to another room to say, make tea, is literally like a good excuse for him to call the police? I'm not sure our character realizes that. Leaving me alone. The clock was about to strike 6. I was at the festival and the uncle I killed was alive. Had I really committed murder yesterday? The only whisper of a fact that proved it happened was the absence of that bat from Satoshi's locker. In any case, I was glad Coach had taken my nonsense seriously. I just confessed to murder. Normally that would frighten a person. But he's a doctor, and he's trained to act rationally, and he's also an adult that, in reality, I think if you admit to murder and someone's kind of happy you did it, I feel like they wouldn't, like, scream in terror or anything crazy. They'd just be like, okay. You'd just be like, yep, sure. And then you'd act rationally. You wouldn't be, like, paranoid, especially if they're, like, asking you for help, but not anything to do with the body. You're like, okay. So he's not planning on murdering me because he's talking to me. People know I'm here. So you can safely go call the cops if he wants to here. So, if I was Keiichi in this position, would be very concerned that he would just be calling the cops to get me arrested here. But Coach didn't run, he cried with me. I was glad he did. How do you know he's not crying because he's gonna have you sent away to jail even though you helped those? Like, I don't know what Coach's I don't know what Coach's moral compass is like. I don't know him that well. He might just be like, oh, alright, well, good job, but I have to send you to jail anyway. He might be like the order type, right? So, my tension smoothly melted away, and I suddenly realized I had to urinate. I thought to use the restroom while Coach had stepped out. There was one across from the waiting room. As soon as I left the room, I saw Coach and 2 male doctors wearing white clothing standing in the shadows of the hallway nearby. I didn't intend to eavesdrop, but I was quite surprised on noticing how uneasy they seemed. Oh, look. I hid behind the wall and quietly listened in. It seemed like Coach was giving directions to the 2 doctors. Black tea. I'll make some. Mix in amobarbital or ravinol. Ooh, look at that. Oh, look at that. The soundtrack has suddenly gotten more intense. So instead of calling the police, he's mixing sedatives in. He's mixing sedatives into tea to try and knock them out. Alright. Cover the taste with milk and sugar. He may grow suspicious of the sudden onset of drowsiness. It's possible he may get agitated and become violent. Wait, why not just call the cops? We'll handle that. How many male staff are still here? 1 mountain dog, including us 3. What was all this? I think I was already agitated despite what the coach said. Was it just casual conversation? It's only sounding unbelievable to me. Coach said he'd bring some black tea and left the room. And then in the shadows he tells his subordinates to put sleeping powder in the tea? They were getting extra help in case I thought the sudden sleepiness and suspicion started getting violent? Wait, Keiichi, calm down, calm down. There's no way something this stupid could be happening. I mean, I don't know what to say, Keiichi. You admitted to murder in front of a doctor. He's either calling the cops or sedating you and having you put under police supervision. Like, it's the most sane thing to do, right? That's what a reasonable person would do, but Keiichi assumes that people conspire with him. I mean, he's genuinely listening to your story, even cried with you. Yeah, because he's gonna have to arrest a kid, and because the kid's a fucking murderer. I thought he's the one person Hinamizawa would understand. Dude, you're a fucking psychopath. Come on, man. This is... There are signs of fabrications or falsehoods, and his memories of yesterday, in particular, are completely confused. He can no longer tell truth from falsehood. It's quite similar to multiple personality disorder, but as for how quickly this disorder emerged, it's not normal. Maybe it's inborn, or perhaps there's signs of it before I move here. Interesting. Interesting. So, the doctor doesn't think he killed someone, but the doctor thinks because other people claimed he was there and claimed that the other guy was alive, because he's alive, they're thinking he's delusional, which is actually not a terrible idea. That's why he hasn't called the police. I understand. Okay, I get what's happening. I understand what's happening from the doctor's perspective. I'd like to take a look at any records of him staying in a mental hospital before he moved here. In any case, I want to take a quiet nap. Him to take a quiet nap. The two doctors nodded deeply. I should probably contact Maebara-kun's parents too, though I can't think of what I'll tell them. Find his home number for me. I like how Coach is calm under pressure. That's good. My eyes, still moist, began to shed tears once more. This is too cruel. I really thought he actually understood and believed what I told him. But from the other side of the wall, he was bluntly treating me like a crazy person. I believed you. I believed you. I let down my guard because I thought you were the only ally I had left after that insane night. Was that all a lie? All that about thanking me on Satoko's behalf? Were you just pretending to keep me placated? My tears fell to the floor in frustration. I was an idiot. An idiot. I was such an idiot for believing that bastard. I heard footsteps approaching the doctors. A man in a dress shirt with no tie came running up. Dr. Erie, it's terrible. They found Takano. Takano? Wait, where? Well, apparently they discovered her burned corpse in the mountains of Gifu. She's dead? Takano? The men, all surprised, exchanged glances. Dead? Takano? Wait, does that mean when I cursed her wishing for her death, the wish was granted? What do you mean, burned corpse? Was it an accident? According to the police statement, the possibility is extremely high she was murdered. As I cried, I laughed quietly. Serves you right. If I hadn't run into that woman, my murder would have been perfect. But she just had to come driving up to me and tried to coerce me like that. Okay, so in theory the coach wouldn't think we killed her because we specifically said she dropped us off at her house, right? Presumably we told him everything. So, we've also told him about Takano. I regretted not having killed her on the spot, but now she was dead anyway. My curse, my wish for her demise was fulfilled. Serves you right. Serves you right. Risa-san died, and Takano died. What on earth could be happening in Namizawa? Don't tell me, this was all the curse for this year? Like hell, let the curse be real, Coach said. Everyone present just nodded as Coach cursed at no one in particular. Maybe it wasn't Oyashiro-sama, but it was definitely a spell, a curse. I wished for her to die, so she did! If this wasn't a coincidence, and she died because I wished for it, then you'll die next, Coach. You betrayed me. You pretended to believe me, but deep down you thought I was a madman. You looked down on me with all that pity in your eyes. For now, get the black tea. I'll bring it inside. I don't think he'd let anyone besides me be alone with him. Shit. What do I do? What do I do, Keiichi? This time I heard the voice of a nurse. Dr. Erie? Oh, there you are. You have a phone call. I'm a little busy. Please tell him I'll call back. Who is it from? Mr. Ueshi from Okonomiya Police Department. What bad timing. Alright, I'll answer it. Coach left to go answer the phone. The other men headed towards the room with the teapot to make the black tea like Coach ordered them to. Fortunately, Coach having to take that phone call meant there would be extra time for me to act. This is where you get out, right? You just leave? I had to decide what to do now. Would I let him make me drink the sedative-infused tea or be held down and thrown into a mental hospital? Nothing would come from starting a brawl here. They had more people anyway, and they were all bigger than me. If they're in the break room making tea, the coach is in his office making a phone call, I think this is the opportunity for you to leave, right? If it came to a fight, I didn't stand a chance in hell. If I couldn't win against them, there's only one thing left to do. Run. Good thinking, Maebara. Adrenaline suddenly rushed into my brain and my body started to move with keen instinct like it had on that night. My surface temperature cooled and the transmission routes between my cells enlarged. Using 360-degree visual information, I searched for an escape route. I could open the window behind me. Outside was a parking lot. There were no cars. Beyond that was the bicycle I took to get there. I determined this would be the quickest method of escape. I approached the window, but with little sound, as if to raise suspicion as I could. Wait, if they're all busy, why wouldn't you just book it and get on your bike? They have to get in cars, and you can just go off-road. You're in a small town. well, whatever. With the speed and silence of a shadow like I had on that night I chased her uncle, I unlocked the window and opened it. A cool evening breeze wafted in. I stuck my head out and looked over the parking lot again. Nobody in sight. No need to hesitate. I crawled outside and closed the window behind me. I held my breath and listened carefully. Damn, that's like the easiest place to escape from. Most bathroom windows are not big enough for you to escape out of. Without breaking, at least. Heck, I wouldn't even expect an office building to actually have a bathroom window that you could open like that. Nobody seemed to have realized I'd run. I looked around and jumped onto my bicycle, zooming away. The pedals clattered under the force. Had my bike always creaked like this? Did the pedals always whine every time I pushed down on them? My bike wasn't the only one crying, though. My tears fell as the wind cut through them. They rode the breeze and scattered behind me. I hate this. I'm not the crazy one. Hinamizawa is. How dare you treat me like a madman? Die. Die. Just die already. I believed you. I believed you. Oh. I'd gone to the hospital to escape Reina and Mion's invitation. The reality that was waiting for me had been too cruel. Who was insane, me or Hinamizawa? Or was the answer something else? I started having trouble breathing. I didn't have any clue what was happening anymore. The loud chirps of the Higurashi were irritating me. Alright, so I'm thinking from here, our character's gonna do one of two things. I mean, I hope he does one of two things. Either one, he accidentally finds himself at the dam. That's one possibility. And he just, like, says hi to Mion or some weird shit happens there. Or he goes to, like, the murder site. Or checks on Satoko. Actually, you know what? I don't think he's going to the dam. I think he's going to either check on Satoko or check on the corpse. Loud chirps of the Higurashi were irritating me. Or even the Hinamizawa Higurashi I knew so well calling into the wild? No, that wasn't quite it. They weren't calling. They were crying. The pained wailing of those lost in some kind of rhythm. In another world, no longer able to return to their own sunlight. I didn't do all that to end up in a world like that. And actually, at about the same time, I might have been having fun with someone else. Satoko would have gotten her smile back after realizing her uncle wouldn't have ever come home. She might have shown it to us at our first club meeting in a while. It was the kind of world I wished for. So what's this? Why did I end up in such a strange, ghastly world? I mean, if our character is insane and was just hallucinating all that, that would be kind of cool. It'd be an interesting twist after the murder scene. That our character didn't actually kill anyone and was just delusional. I'd actually be okay with that one. Someone I killed was living like normal and I had enjoyed myself at the festival despite not being there. I don't want it. I don't want this strange world. I wish our character would just accept the world and deal with it. But, alas, we're not in that timeline. When did it start to go wrong? When? No matter how much I thought about it, I never understood. I rode swiftly and returned to my home. It had begun to rain during my journey back, and like yesterday, I was now soaked. But I didn't care about something. Really? We went home. Interesting. Okay. The pain I felt in my heart that Coach, the one person I trusted, was acting cruelly, was far worse. I'm a little bit confused why our character went home, because if Coach realizes you're missing, he's gonna call home and let your parents know that you might have had, like, a mental breakdown or something, and to, like, let him know you're there, let the police know you're there. It seems like a really bad idea to just go directly home from the hospital instead of going anywhere else. But, whatever. Did I have no allies in Hinamizawa anymore? With the naive thought that at least one of my parents was side with me, I stepped to the front door. Wait, Keiichi. It'll be dark. There's something you want to check, right? Yes. I wanted to dig up the man's corpse and get a look at his back. If there was a tiger tattoo there, I'd know beyond a doubt he was Satoku's uncle. That long night wouldn't end until I was certain. Really? You're gonna dig up the corpse? I mean, you've already admitted to murder, so I guess. If this insane world was reparation for at all, a divine punishment, then I needed to make certain whether I'd been successful enough to even deserve to pay the price. I went to the storage room again and got the shovel. It had been washed in the rain, but the paint was peeling, making it look unsightly. I never wanted to touch this thing again. The sensation of it in my hands was totally different from the night before. There was a ruthless coldness about it. Honestly, dude, like, I don't know why he can't accept reality sometimes. Yeah. It would be dark soon. I need the lantern, too. There'd be a bit of light from the streetlights, but it would get extremely dark. I thought I put the lantern here, but I noticed it wasn't anywhere to be found. Then it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Of course. On that night, I hadn't brought the lantern back with me. I'd left it at the place I buried the body. If I didn't go get it soon, it would be very dark. And not only would I be unable to find the spot I buried the corpse, I wouldn't be able to find the lantern itself. And if that happened, it was all over. Well, the good news is, if you can't find the fucking body, you can find the lantern, right? I need to hurry. In order to fit the shovel in the basket in front of my bike, I need to twist and disassemble it. But it looked like there was dirt in the joints, and no matter how hard I pushed, it didn't want to come apart. Well, of course, you didn't, there's like dirt locked in the joints. You need to clean it now, because you didn't clean it or disassemble it while you were working last night. That's fair. After a strenuous effort, I realized I couldn't get it apart, so I held it in one hand and rode my bike with the other. This is strangely reminiscent of last night. We're doing the same thing we did last night, with the downpour soaking me through and a shovel in one hand. Riding one-handed. It was as if I'd returned to that night. You do the double. No, return was the wrong word. It was like the night never ended. The pain of the raindrops striking me were no different then. The thing that was different was Hinamizawa. You're gonna dig up the body and get arrested by the cops or some shit, aren't you? The world and nothing else. The rain clouds were making it dark, and now it was about time for the sun to set. I could tell it would only get rapidly darker. The straight road leading to town. In the middle of it. That should be where I buried it. Yes, yes. It was near that streetlight. On that night, too, the water from the downpour was splashing from the streetlight's overhang like a waterfall. The pouring rain was the same as it had been that night, and thus it brought my memories into focus. I left my bike in the brush and stepped into the forest, the ground already soaked with mud. Where had I buried him? Think. The darkness, the shadows, the water, the mud, everything was the same. Think. And then I spotted the lantern by a fallen moss-covered tree. Right, I left it there. If I left the lantern here, then I'd have buried him over here. With the sensation of standing in the sludge, my feet remembered the spot better than my eyes did. I plunged my shovel into the ground. That's hard. It wasn't here. I just dug it up. It should have been softer. I stick my shovel down in a few spots to test what they feel like. One of them clearly felt deeper. I recalled where the lantern was, where the trees and things were in relation to each other, and knew it had to be here. Under here slept that man's corpse. There would definitely be the tattoo of a tiger on his back. But if it wasn't there, then I made a horrible mistake, killing someone completely unrelated instead. And be more dazed at the fact that Toku's uncle wasn't dead than I would regret having gotten someone mixed up in this. If this insane world was punishment for the sin of committing murder, I mean, what do we think? Do we think he killed the wrong guy? Or do we think his uncle was actually dead? I wouldn't be able to accept it until I killed Satoku's uncle for good. Without any fear, I'd attack him again. That time I'd kill him for sure. But what if the tattoo was there? That would mean I killed her uncle. That would be strange. If I killed him for sure, who is the uncle at the house at this very moment? Hey, honestly, the thing I would have done, I don't know why he's going to the corpse, but I know he's like in a panic, so maybe he's not thinking straight. Would have gone to Satoko's house and checked if her uncle was there. Easiest thing to do, also not illegal. It's okay, dude. You don't have to think about that. You don't have to think about it too hard, Keiichi. But that's literally the right choice to make. Check if the uncle is actually fucking dead. You don't need to go to the body to check if the uncle is here. Impossible. I didn't even know anymore what I was using the word impossible to refer to. I've used the word a few times today. If I had to make the words impossible fit one thing, what would it be? That much was obvious. It would be impossible for this crazy world to be real. I shouted, then turned behind me. There was no one there, of course. It hadn't been bothering me for a while, but those footsteps followed me the entire day. Even just now, an extra set of footsteps flashed behind me. No one was actually there, no indications of anyone even. But they were there. Who are you? You've been following me since I came to this world. That's right. Thinking back, the first time I heard those footsteps was after Takano and I had parted. The footsteps were my welcome into this strange inside-out world. No one could be there. I'd get no response. Whoever it was, they kept staring at me. It wasn't ominous, just unpleasant. And after staring into empty space, I bathed in the rain, my illogical anger slipping away. My tension loosened and a tired feeling reared its head. I tasted this feeling that night too. The sudden exhaustion as the tension in my brain loosened. My vision narrowed and it felt like everything around me got darker. I couldn't give in to the situation. He's already this exhausted. I'd light what little explosives were left in my brain and force myself to keep going. Yeah, you're gonna leave the corpse unburied now? Oh my god. Alright. I needed to dig that man up before my stamina ran out. I needed to see the tattoo on his back. I caught my suddenly ragged breath and calmed down. Then I struck the shovel into the soft, muddy ground again. It felt the same as that night. A sense of digging a hole in the beach with water coming into it, every wave. What day was today? Had I gone back to the night of Watanagashi? Every strange thought that came to mind tormented me, and given my exhaustion, I didn't think I could manage to hold these thoughts back. Once the hole was deep, all illumination finally faded, blanketing my vision in black. It was probably the moment the sun set, too. That night I had feared the worst and gone without using much light. My senses were so strained I could see even in that darkness, but now I didn't have that strength. I drained everything I had last night, and now the darkness would be lethal. I decided to turn on the lantern. Putting it on the first setting would make it give off a faint light. Even with how little water there was, it was enough and people wouldn't be able to see it from far away in the rain. I grabbed the lantern, turned the dial, set it to the weakest setting and turned it on. An uncanny world of silhouettes appeared before me. A complex and strange shadowy world created by the intricate entanglement of trees and branches. I wonder what he's thinking. I'd only turned on a light, and that was like all it took to make the world into something else. I let out a quick, tired breath and wiped the liquid, neither rain nor sweat, from my brow. I raised the shovel into the air and slammed it into the mud. That moment, the silhouettes surrounding me all ominously moved at once. Inside my head, something packed in there, something coarse but not hot or cold, was loudly rushing about. The silhouettes were all around me, looking down at me. One of them, a silhouette bigger than the others, stepped forward. Good evening. Alright, so I am kind of enjoying this one. I'm gonna I gave like a quiet smile at this, but you guys can't see that. So I'm like, interesting. It's Uishi. I was half wondering if it would be the villagers or Uishi. But Uishi, yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think lots of things happened while we were gone and being paranoid, and I kind of feel like our character deserves this if he finds the body. I know the police will be combing the area, because the police will be combing it because someone else died here. What's his face? Who got his throat ripped out, right? The photographer whose name I keep forgetting. I can't believe I keep forgetting the name of the photographer. So the police are going to be like, that's interesting, why are you digging here? And our character's going to be like, well, gee, I killed someone, you know? Good evening. The moon sure is beautiful tonight. And the police are combing this area because people have disappeared. Like, I can't believe our character put this down, but alright. The coarseness in my brain shot through my whole spine and left me at my waist. So, what are you doing tonight? The strength of my body left me through my hips and I crouched down with a splash. Into the sea of mud I dug myself. Uishi. Is that really how you address your elders? You'll have a rough time of it once you become an adult. It wasn't only Uishi, but 5 or 6 of them in a row. Men wearing raincoats. I had no inkling this many people had gotten close. I mean, I have so many complaints, but I have so many complaints about Keiichi. It was like once I turned on the lantern, they appeared sliding out of the shadows. They were literally combing this area. Don't mind us. Just think of us as trees in the forest, perhaps. Don't mind them. Yeah, pay no attention to us. Please continue digging your hole. It's late and raining hard. You're working pretty fervently. We won't get in your way. Please, dig to your heart's content. No, thanks. When I tried to get up and turn around, 2 men blocked that route. They stood on either side and lifted me up with amazing strength, throwing me into the sea of mud. As I, soaked in the mud bath I dug for myself, looked up at the silhouettes looking down at me. Uishi squatted, picked up my shovel, and threw it at my feet for me. It bounced off the mud and hit me in the face. Come, please, continue. Continue. I couldn't bear the oppressiveness of the silhouette surrounding me and slowly stuck the shovel into the mud again. I felt like I was digging my own grave. If I kept digging, it wouldn't matter whether there was a tattoo or not, because that man's corpse would appear eventually. You know, I'm starting to think it might have been smart for him to, do the obvious. You know what the obvious is? Just go to the goddamn dam with Mion and Reina. But he's not thinking that. He's thinking in his paranoia that this was the right course of action. I don't know. It was all over. Surrounded on all sides with nowhere to go. But I couldn't figure out, no matter how much I thought about it, why were they here? Was it Takano? There was only one person who could have made connection between me and this place. I knew it, she deserved to die. What are you talking about? You literally told everything to the doctor who probably called you. Stopping so soon? Bam. Keiichi kicked me in the back, which took me by surprise, sending me flying into the mud. Hurry up and dig, please. You really should consider the fact some of us are standing out in the rain. Ah, fuck you. If you don't like the rain, go home. Keiichi kicked some mud into my face. Use your hands, please, not your mouth. Only in the red light district do they use both at once. Nice. Isn't that right, boys? The men around him didn't react, not knowing whether they should laugh, but when Keiichi glared at them, they started mumbling pain chuckles. Just who the heck is this guy? I knew the world changed after that night. If I went even further back, didn't it start when this guy showed up? That was when our peaceful days had been taken from us. Ever since he showed up, things had been odd. Everyone stopped smiling, the world went crazy. Dude, you are fucking paranoid. The ground under my feet got harder and heavier. At this point, even I started to think something was odd. I hadn't buried him this deep that night, had I? My exhaustion peaked and I sat down on the spot. How long do you want me to dig? Kids these days have no stamina. Hey, you. At Keiichi's gesture, the men pulled out their own sinister-looking shovels. As I watched dazed, one of them grabbed my collar, dragged me out of the hole, and threw me to the ground. The rest of them stepped into the hole and started shoveling themselves. As I stared at them dumbfounded, Keiichi sauntered over and squatted down to look at me directly. Keiichi Maebara, is this a hobby of yours, digging holes on rainy nights? When I didn't respond, Keiichi took one of the tin buckets they were using to bail out muddy water, scooped some of it, and splashed the whole thing in my face. The rain's heavy today, too. No matter how wet I get, I still don't understand the appeal. Keiichi smiled to himself and scooped up another bucket. I'll ask you again, is digging holes on rainy nights your hobby? Who would have a hobby like this? You, apparently. Because you're supposed to have an excuse for why you're not looking for a fucking corpse. But it's okay, Keiichi's, at this point I think Keiichi's too exhausted to think of anything. Him coming up with bad answers is fine. I don't even know how I'd react here either. Flash. Keiichi hit me with another bucket full of muddy water. The pebbles in it stung. Will there be something in that hole? I've always liked that story, you know, about the old man who could make plants bloom. The puppy digging in his yard for gold. As he spoke, he ran the bucket through the muddy water again, to splash it in my face again. What kind of treasure's buried down there, huh? Can you at least give me a hint? If you want to know, dig on your own time, pig. I wasn't saying that out loud, but Keiichi mercilessly drenched me in muddy water again. Shit. If only you two hadn't shut up, the world wouldn't have gone wrong. Keiichi, please. Ever since you shut up, things have been strange. Stoku got abused by her uncle, I killed him, the world went crazy. He was how it began, because of this culprit. He splashed another bucket of mud in my face. My insides were seething with anger. You died too. If I have some strange power to kill someone by cursing him like with Takano, you're dead. I'm sorry to say this, but Takano's death is completely unrelated to Keiichi. And this is probably your fault. This is 100% your fault for all this stuff, Keiichi. I wasn't expecting this ending, but, you know, alright. It won't be the curse, it'll be mine. I'll curse you and kill you. What a rebellious look you're wearing. Why don't we use this opportunity to teach you a thing or two in that regard? We really do live in peace these days. When I was about your age, corporal punishment was the norm for everything. Keiichi. One of the digging men wiped some sweat off and called Keiichi over. He tossed the bucket away and turned around with an evil grin on his face. Oh, what is it? Please look at this. Acceptance or maybe resignation. I wanted to say to them, so you blockheads finally found it. That's right, I'm the one who killed him. But you're the police, so it's your own job to figure out who he is, right? Prove to me he's Satoku's uncle. What on earth? We think it's an old drain pipe. It seems to be connected to the irrigation channel over there. Let's smash that thing. It's not being used, is it? The men exchanged glances and then hesitantly broached another topic. Keiichi. The ground down there is pretty hard. I don't think anything could be deeper than this. Did we get the location wrong? No, at first it felt like the location had been dug before. After digging so far, the ground suddenly hardened. We think we've gone down further than the hole that was originally dug. What does that mean? There was a hole here and someone filled it back up? Is that what you're trying to tell me? What? What were they talking about? Well, I'm at a loss. So the body disappeared, right? I'm think the body disappeared? That's interesting. So clearly we've lost our marbles, right? That's what it's leading towards. We've either jumped worlds or lost our marbles. Maebara. We should grab my collar and drag me to the hole they dug. The mud inside was like an ocean. I couldn't see any drain pipe down there. One of the men started with a shovel, letting me hear it clang against something hard. There's no doubt I buried him right here. But I hadn't buried him this deep. I didn't dig deep enough to unearth an entire drain pipe. So, then... this man, its corpse. Where was it? Proof I've been successful on that night was gone. What on earth was I... Was I actually crazy and just possessed by the delusion I'd killed someone? That couldn't be. It was the truth. It couldn't have been a hallucination. But now the most important evidence that it hadn't been an illusion was gone? I killed him. I buried him. I had absolute unwavering confidence in that fact. Did I fail to kill him? After I left here, had he started breathing? Crawled out and gone back to Satoko's? Was that it? I'd come here to see whether he had a tattoo or not. Yet the truth I unearthed was far more than that. Yesterday, what was I? I killed him. I buried him. There was no doubt. But for some reason, he lived and crawled back out, and that's impossible too, right? I'm so tired of hearing the word impossible over and over. I get it. Dead people don't like to play by the rules here in Hinamizawa. I'll kill you as many times as I fucking need to. I'll keep killing you until you never show your face to Satoko again. Uishi and the others were muttering to each other. Eventually their conversation ended and Uishi came towards me. What did he want to say? What did he want to do? I stiffened, tensing up, then Uishi ignored me like I wasn't even there and passed by me. The other men too, they ignored me and shuffled away. Eventually there was no longer a sign that anyone was around and I returned to my quiet world of silhouettes. The only one left there was me. Only the sound of pouring rain filled the silence. Interesting. So our character had like a mental breakdown? At some point? I'm curious. I'm liking this mystery. It's like we had the murder. So in theory, we think we know everything. Like, you know, in theory, we think Keiichi holds most or all of the cards, right? Like, he knows about the murder, he knows how it happened, where the stuff is. You think he's in control, but the writer has just taken that control away from us by giving us this new mystery that we have no clue what the fuck's going on. I'm really liking that. This is quite unusual. I'm loving this twist, though. Like, I was expecting it to be a thing of tension where, like, we know what's going on, but we're trying to hide that from the police or something. I really like the twist our characters put him on, where it's like, he could be insane, but you're not sure if he's, like, insane or jumped timelines or, like, what the fuck's going on. It's like, you know, we had the insanity, we had the certainty that we killed someone. I'm really liking this, because, like, now I'm back to the mystery. I don't know what's going on. And I'm uncovering things with Keiichi, and that's really fun. Okinomiya Police Station, Command Center transmission recording. June 20th, 8:08 p.m. This is Okinomiya Police Station. We read you loud and clear. We'd like you to look up a license plate for us. Shishibone H4344. H4344. Please give us a moment to look it up. Thank you. Number match. Shishibone H4344. That's probably going to be Takano's. No. Address, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. Vehicle, make, and model on... Okay, theft reports, none. Special mentions, nothing of note. Security police to Uishi. We found the license plate from earlier. Do you read? Uishi, please respond. Huh? Am I getting a bad signal? Anyone in Uishi's car, please respond. Nothing, eh? Uishi wanted a license plate check. Whose car was it? Someone from the village. A completely average car. Who was it? If Uishi's asking, it can't be anyone good, right? The special mentions column is completely blank. No indication it's related to the S group either. And no demerits. Maybe it passed him on the road and he got mad. That guy isn't the type to forget a grudge. I think that was one chapter. Record of Melis. He said it smelled. He said the food smelled. He said it smelled because I smelled. He said I smelled because I don't take baths. He said to take a bath 3 times a day because I was a smelly person. He said I had to stay in the bath for a long time every time. He must be possessed by something too. This is the same thing the man who died said. Why does he know what that man said before? The man who died said? That much is obvious. The same thing that possessed that man is now possessing him. Can't a sudden earthquake make a big hole in front of the house? If it did, he would definitely go and look into it. And then I just have to push him in. I won't give in until I get that chance. I won't give in, I won't cry. I won't give in, I won't cry. This is Satoka's perspective. Oh, someone's apologizing again. Interesting. Satoko's wishing him dead, but who knows? As we can see, this was 1 chapter. That was a bit of a long chapter. I'm guessing the next chapter is going to be pretty long itself. Let's keep pushing in. We might only get through a chapter and a half tonight. Depends on how much time we have. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that. But I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Satoko said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much, no matter what strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Satoko, I became a demon. And this abnormal world was my reward. Yes, metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. There's a chance you're just insane. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Satoko's uncle, that would have been fine. Since the uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. But from Satoko's perspective, it seems like a different person has become her uncle, filling his role. One more time. No, as many times as it took, I'd kill that man over and over again until Satoko was liberated. I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see that it was early in the morning at just about 5. I mean, honestly, I would be even more certain to go to her house or try to help her with her chores or some shit. And verify that it's her uncle. It was already light outside. Once I'd hardened my resolve to become a demon again, I could feel my body teeming with the awakened power once more. Time wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'd do it. Dude, just take your time. Wait until the next festival. If he's immortal or some shit, like, you're not going to be able to do anything. I got myself up. I feel like our character's going to be doing something stupid today, but whatever. The exhaustion from the past 2 days was completely swept away, and I didn't even feel sleepy anymore. I slowly arose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted it to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. As I got dressed, I let my mind wander and had a strange thought. These 2 days, well, I said it was for Satoko's sake. The only thing on my mind has been killing. I said it was for Satoko, but while actually carrying out the act, I'd completely forgotten about her, albeit only temporarily. Maybe initially it was for Satoko's sake, but now I was just a demon killing for the sake of killing. I don't know why he's planning on killing someone after everyone suspects that he murdered someone. At this point, you really shouldn't do it because you're going to get caught. But I don't think our character's acting sane anymore. If anything, it seems like the veil of madness that might have briefly slipped over his eyes is now clearly, like, driving him to do really stupid shit. Like, we're getting the perspective from him, but things are no longer happening in the order we expect them to. Yeah, now I'm just a demon killing for the sake of killing, and as a result, I'd sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it's the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Satoko, became a demon, and then disappeared from the sunlit Hinamezawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant, after all was said and done, I'd met the same fate as him. I tried to avoid making the same mistakes, but it happened anyway. Which meant maybe Satoshi was here. He'd come to this world a year before me. He would be here somewhere. Then, surprised, I stopped walking. I feel like our character's making a lot of really stupid assumptions, like Satoshi will naturally be in this world. There was the second set of footsteps I'd grown used to hearing. Did you hear that? There was actually footsteps. There's the ringing sound that's faintly playing in the background. But there was definitely a footstep that time. Could you be Satoshi? The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer. But I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi had stuck with me the whole time. Let's go, Satoshi, once more. This time we'll set her free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. I don't know why he's planning on killing someone after, like, everyone suspects he tried to murder him. If anything, they should be like, hey... if anything, they should call him and be like, hey, your life's in danger. Like, I think that'd be a sane thing to do as a doctor. If someone's having illusions of murdering you and thinking that it's essential you kill him, like, probably a cop or someone at least telling him he's in danger. If they caught me now when I'd been out way too late for 2 days now, they'd give me a really angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today, I'd put an end to it. If the body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could just burn it to ashes and take them all with me so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. I'd do it again. I'd kill him again. And this time I'd set her free. Outside, the morning light was so beautiful to take relief, but you don't have a plan on how to kill him. Are you just going to walk in there and try to kill him with a baseball bat indoors? That's not going to work, my dude. You don't even have a weapon because the bat's gone. It's in the swamp. I went to the storage room to find weapons with which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. I mean, you don't want people interrupting you, and Satoko's near here. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing happened. Both me and that other Keiichi Maebara. Yeah, now he's actually deluded. Now he's 100% deluded. Even without me, he'd fill in. I could vanish from Inamizawa without anyone noticing. Good luck, dude. Basically, I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. If I died, Keiichi Maebara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Satoko's sake, then that was just part of my duty as her Nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough. I'm like... yeah, I think at this point he's having a mental breakdown, right? In real time. Because this is not the sane way to act if you think you've been transported to another world. It's to, like, adapt. It's adapt and try to play in something else, but, like, going for another kill today, it seems like a really dumb idea. Everyone suspects you of murdering someone. Oh, this one's scary. Let's go with this. It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Oh boy, are we gonna ask someone a few questions? Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't take it out in public like that, so I wrapped it in some old newspaper and tossed it into the basket on my bike. We're back to axes. We've come around to the other side. Last time it was Reina trying to axe us. Today we're trying to axe someone. Sorry for using me for evil all the time. I'll need you again today, my legs. Dude, he really needs to rest. He's so exhausted he couldn't even dig the hole he dug the day before. There's no way he wins this fight, right? Unless he like axes him in the back of the head. And remember, this guy normally has like 3 or 4 friends chilling out. I apologize to my bike for some reason. The past 3 days I've only used it for dangerous things. I've been riding it ever since I lived in my old town. I could walk most places I wanted to, so I hadn't used it all that much. My mom bought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be convenient as a way to get to the station since it was far away. So I always used it to get back and forth from cram school. I only ever put textbooks and class materials in the front basket too. I never tried to put a hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in there. When I came to Hinamizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever and had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life to do it. I don't understand how he thinks he's going to get his life back, but again, I think he's having a mental breakdown, so... If he thinks running into someone's house and hacking them to pieces is going to bring back his calm, fun life, he's completely wrong, but he's deluded enough to believe so, so we'll follow with him. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder's a crime. I didn't believe people should ever think murder was okay. Oh, how many days has it been? This is 2 days. This is 2 days. But still, the times I'd had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. My friends were irreplaceable and the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime, as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. Yeah. This was a value I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. I thought back to when I'd first come to Hinamizawa. About how on the first day Satoko welcomed me via a blackboard with a rock on it. That welcome really surprised the heck out of me. She'd laugh, cry, get angry. She was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike one among us, but she was actually lively, full of vim and vigor, good at meddling in other people's business. It went for Mion, Reina, and Rika too. Wasn't Satoko the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? She'd try to look cool. Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Satoko would cry, which would put Reina in a state of ecstasy. Rika would be greatly delighted. And I happened to get mixed up in it. We'd always fool around like that. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name one for whom it was the worst, it would have been Satoko. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. It was like when I was silently going to cram school every day just to maintain my unchanging test scores. Basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. In that case, I was her knight, searching for the dragon's castle to win her smile back. Like I said, deluded. Knights, of course, use swords. The awesome two-handed kind. I'm probably the only knight in the history of the world to be taking someone off with a thick, rusty hatchet. Got bad news for you, buddy. I got news for you, buddy. Much like samurai, who don't always use katana, knights use all sorts of weapons. But yeah, in fact, yeah. They use all sorts of weapons, but swords, yeah, they use swords. Then I saw an old person in the ridge of a field waving to me. Oh my, Keiichi-kun. Out for morning ride, is he? Good morning. I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. So I feel like the coach might be watching the house. I think coach is gonna watch the house. Should I really have been feeling so happy waving like that? The Toko's house would be right past this road going beyond the rice paddies. They're gonna police car? The cicadas awoke too. And the next thing I knew, I was the audience to their daily chorus. I gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I feel like someone's gonna be watching the house. Right? I took a deep breath and tilted my head back, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or I'd killed him and he'd risen from the dead. I'm surprised he hasn't thought that he's insane, but that's why insane people think they're sane. Sane people question their sanity? This character hasn't questioned his sanity. The only thing he's questioned is whether or not someone deceived him. It's like, it's an illusion. If I was at the festival, I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. Oh, now he's considering that. But it being an illusion was impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. If that had been an illusion, it would make all of this Hinamizawa I was in right now an illusion. If that was the case here, how it would end. I was actually in a vegetative state due to a traffic accident. I was currently dreaming in a hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in rice paddies. That was a terrifying thought, though. If this wasn't an illusion, then the only possible was he'd resurrected. It would make him a literal monster. But if he was such a monster, I was no less a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone, and I could even wield curses. Yeah, this guy's like, I can wield curses because he doesn't have enough information because he keeps skipping school. He's skipping school and not hearing the rumors and not investigating stuff, so he doesn't actually know what happened to the other two bodies. So he thinks he's able to wield curses. Yep, this sounds like a sane person, right? He can wield curses. Someone died that he didn't like, so he can wield curses to kill people. Alright. Takano died probably because I cursed her. Yeah. Or maybe that's a bit much. If Coach and Uishi died too, like I cursed them to yesterday, I'd believe it. I set my bicycle aside and went to take a look. His motorbike wasn't here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to hell that night, throwing it into the Onigafuchi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't here, maybe the motorbike didn't get thrown into the swamp either. The fact his bike wasn't here might have been because he'd gone to town and hadn't come back. Not because I'd thrown it in the swamp. I'm like so very confused at this, because I feel like every action Keiichi's taking is like, let's think, you get isekai'd to a parallel world very close to your own. You should just instantly adapt so you don't stand out, and then work to find things out. That's like standard protocol, but our character doesn't seem to be thinking that way. He's like causing as much destruction, but that's Keiichi. Keiichi, when he stumbles on something he shouldn't have, digs deeper instead of trying to make sure he doesn't get fucking murdered or do something stupid. Alright, if her uncle wasn't around, that was convenient on its own. I'd just show myself in and wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was here. What about Satoko? Are you even thinking? Well, I said he was losing his fucking marbles, so. He's having a breakdown real time. He's not even thinking. Satoko's supposed to be home. She's skipping school to be home, but she might be at school now. She might be at school right now because it's school day, I think. This day is a Tuesday, right? This day is a Tuesday because the festival was Sunday. Monday, he slept in half the day and unburied the corpse. Today is Tuesday. So, in theory, she's at school. Forgotten sensations came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison, dulling my actions, but it could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken to my superhuman, otherworldly self. Yeah, when you start believing that you're superhuman and otherworldly, with little evidence, that's not good. I held the hatchet still wrapped in the newspaper. Its weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I hadn't put on my watch, so I didn't know what time it was, but it was probably a little before 7. Why not put on a watch? Whatever. Satoko would be awake, preparing breakfast and her lunch, and this is when you're going to strike, my dude. But her uncle would still be lazing around in bed. A guy like him would have stayed up late drinking and probably always slept till noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Satoko open the door, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I'd waste my chance of him being asleep. Do you even know which room is his? You've never been in this house before, right? This is like a decently sized house. If Satoko saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran into her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you? Stay quiet? I couldn't do that. That'd be like making Satoko responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside? That would do. How deluded do you have to be? How would Satoko react to that? She'd probably try to get me to give up on killing him. And have to lie somehow to get her to go outside. Satoko didn't need to know that a murder was going to occur in this house. I have no clue what he's thinking now. I'm just going to follow along with it. I couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much standing around like this. I mean, the easiest answer, let's be honest, the easiest answer would literally be just to wait until she's gone. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob. He's just going to walk, then slowly turned it and pulled. It's a door, it's locked. It wasn't locked? Really? The gap between the door and the wall grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Satoko's house hit me. At the entrance there were a few pairs of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not by looking at them. I could hear a television on somewhere. Like, the television was in the messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family mealtime. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person making it. This guy is probably going to kill the wrong person. If there's another person in this house, he's going to kill the wrong fucking person. I mean, I get why he doesn't like Satoko's uncle. He is abusive to Satoko. But, like, yeah, he's super abusive to Satoko. He goes from being happy and energetic to being depressed, can't attend any events, literally couldn't attend school until he called Child Protective Services on him to make it so that she could actually attend school. So he wants to kill him because he's ruined everyone's life and is dragging down his image of his perfect life. And also he's like beating the shit out of Satoko all the time, using her as his personal slave, etc., etc. The usual bad, abusive parent things. Alright. It doesn't include sexual violence as far as I can tell. Everything but that. So she's got bruises all over and shit. She's got bruises all over and shit. She's lying about. She's doing the usual. I fell down the stairs. You know, that kind of deal. You know, it's like, oh wow, you're covered in bruises. Oh, I fell down the stairs. Uh huh. 5 times. Ah. Okay, okay. What about yesterday? Oh, fell down the stairs yesterday too. 3 or 4 times. Oh, okay. Alright. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it. Meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight. No sign of anyone either. With the TV on, he must have been close. Could he have anticipated my coming and be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick. He's going into someone's house that he's never been in before and trying to murder them with an axe. This is like the dumbest thing. Like, he didn't even case the fucking house or try to get invited in at some point. Thought it would choke you. The newspaper's wrapping in the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper its power at all. I tightened my grip and then carefully took a look around. Where had all those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized something. This wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were all hard and dried up. Was it last night's dinner? Okay, grains of boiled rice take what, 3-4 hours? How long does rice take to dry up if you just leave it sitting on a plate? It's not gonna be like 3-4 hours. 3-4 hours to partially dry and probably like 5-6 to be completely dried. Yeah, that's a bit sketchy. That's last night's dinner? Yeah, that's last night's dinner, my dude. I left the dining room keeping vigilant and went down the hallway, finding the stairs to the second floor. When that man was playing with his friends, he looked out of a second-story window. It was highly possible the room was his own and that he slept there. I tiptoed up the edges of the stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. I couldn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening paper doors, checking inside, but I still couldn't find anyone around. To search more efficiently, I got on the floor and pressed my ear right up to it. I could hear the TV in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps of boiling water. It was then I started harboring feelings of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back to the dining room. I looked at the food scattered about. Completely dried up rice, an overturned bowl of miso soup. Note... Wait a minute. Overturned bowl. Okay. That's interesting. I want to stop for a second. The dried up rice is fine. The bowl of miso soup... Satoko said that her uncle poured his miso soup on her and that she had to clean it up. Why is the bowl still overturned? The package for a side dish bought at the supermarket. I could tell Satoko had been the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Reina's greatness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house and from the type and amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. The numbers stamped on the food package read 830620, June 20th? So bought yesterday? Yep. And that's what he comes to the conclusion. June 20th, 1983, that was yesterday. There was food for 2, which meant this was last night's dinner and Satoko's uncle would have been here then. Stop it, Keiichi. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night, that much was the truth. He found fault with her food, threw the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within my feelings of calm and composure was a lit flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? I heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. What was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, perhaps? I hear the noise from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room. I like how the backing track has just completely died. There's no ominous tune, there's nothing. Dead silence here. It had to have been the sound of water boiling for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass door and the heat from it was leaking into the changing room where I was standing too. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. If one did, it would mean this house. In this house, time had been stopped ever since some moment last night. I want to say that the last thing we said... The last tip we read, said that Satoko felt like she was being forced to take baths for really long times because she was dirty. This might be Satoko. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active this whole time. I checked in a clothing basket and saw Satoko's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it. Certainly not something she'd wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass but couldn't see anything to see. Is he gonna just walk in on her? And then an electric surge ran through my mind and a terrible premonition came over me. Could she? She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That'd be impossible. But no. In Hinamizawa right now, nothing is impossible. I mean, I am like, why would I go in there if that was, unless that was the last room in the house. But I feel like he's gonna go in there anyway. This is either gonna be cringe or there's gonna be nothing there. Cringe, nothing there, or horror. I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm loving this ambiguity. Like, the absence of all life in here makes you think maybe it'll be abandoned. The fact that Satoko was forced to take abnormally long baths makes you think it might be Satoko in there. And you know, it's horror. It could just be a body. I gulped audibly. I think the body is the least likely. I think the body is the least likely, but they might try to surprise me. It's like, I'm like 33% on all of those. I gulped audibly and then quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot steaming air burst out of the slight opening. The fan wasn't on, so it was completely white with the steam. Just as the hot vapor poured into the room, the cooler air flowed into the room with the bath, and I just heard, due to being hit by that air, a very weak moan. That was all I needed to know who it was. Satoko! No answer. Satoko was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the bathtub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a strange whistling noise as if angered. I could see the gas flame through a small window. It was roaring at full force, completely blue. Her entire body was boiled red and flaccid, as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll, laid there unconscious. I wasn't sure how many seconds passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler, then dragged her small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in public baths. Was she in this boiling water the entire night? She'll die! Satoko's body was lighter than expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went into the bathroom and opened up the vent, creating a path for a cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, she moaned again. It'll be alright, Satoko. It's me, Keiichi. You understand? Can you hear me? Keiichi. Satoko recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely conscious. Upon closer inspection, her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. Dude, she's like fucking dying. Call the call the fucking hospital. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Think, what would the teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer, during a marathon, in gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way on and soaked a towel in it. I took the cold towel and pressed it to Stoka's forehead. She reacted harshly to the coldness and let out a muffled voice. For burns, right, you soak the burn spot under running water. I could run cold water in the shower and cool off like this? No, if it's that sudden, it wouldn't be good for her heart. She'd go into shock. This is about as much nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur. What happened, Satoko? You're alright now. Nini will be saving for sure. 5,090. 5,039. 5,000. What was Satoko reciting under her breath? I brought my ear to her mouth. To make out the mysterious spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment, I understood what they were for. Satoko, you're counting? Why? People tell little kids in the bath to count to 100 a lot, right? Satoko was counting like that, but 5,039? Idiot. How long were you supposed to count in your bathtub? 10,000? 10,000? I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. 10,000? You're a freaking idiot. I mean, I don't know about that. 10,000. How long is 10,000 seconds? That's a long ass time, but like, how long is that? That's like 2 hours. That's like what? Divided by 60 is 166. Divided by 60 again is 2.7 hours. Probably a bit more than that. Maybe 2.8. 2.8. I'm guessing. I think 2.8. 2.8 might be better. All right. What kind of dumbass can count to 10,000? There's no way you could do that. You'll boil to death before you get that far. What were you? My uncle. Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at the dinner she made, saying it stunk and was inedible. Satoko didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of pickled vegetables she brought in particular? Her uncle decided the stink was originating from Satoko and shouted at her that she never ever took baths. He put her in boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted 2. Ugh, I'll kill you. Ah! I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper-wrapped hatchet, I stampeded through the house. I searched for anything, traces, signs, smells, vibrations, heartbeats. With a war cry, I raced up the stairs with such force I could have stopped a hole through them. Then I found the futon I thought to be her uncle's. Well aware he wasn't sleeping, bashed it with a hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I bust the entire closet down, door and all. This guy is losing his fucking mind. If he's not here, maybe there's a secret door? Any switches or levers in the walls here? Yes, that's a natural assumption. In a house with paper walls, because it's a traditional Japanese home, the walls have hidden levers in them. I smashed into wall after wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Dust rose in the air and broken pieces scattered with the floor. You know this doesn't make you look at all sane, right? I smashed all the windows, too, for good measure. After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in her uncle's room, my reason finally kicked in and suppressed my emotions. Yeah, you just tore up a house. Anyway, her uncle's not in the house anymore. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I had to do something about Satoko. Naturally, the same thing to do when you find someone in a bathtub covered in burns and possibly dying from heat stroke is to smash all the windows in the house for no reason instead of calling for an ambulance. I believe if I found someone with burns over their whole body, I'd consider calling an ambulance, right? Do something about Satoko. I went back to the change room. Satoko was lying limp on the floor. There's nothing an amateur like me could do for her. But wait, we can smash more walls. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in a mental hospital. I never wanted to see his face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. I needed to have a doctor look at Satoko. I thought about putting her in the dirty uniform in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone. It'd be hard. I don't have time to waste here. I eventually gave up on clothing her and carried her in the bath towel. The clinic was close to her house. It would be way faster to carry her there than to call 119 and get an ambulance. Okay, you think it's that fast? I threw the biggest towel I could find over her and prompted her to stand. Can you stand? I'll carry you to the clinic. Thanks. Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief knowing she had improved even a little bit. Satoko turned over as she was lying on her face, put up a weak struggle to get up on a knee. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off. The towel, it hurts. We'll be there soon, it won't be long. Stay strong. It didn't hurt one bit to carry her. She was light, far too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside it got hotter. As though eager to attack Satoko. The fucking cicadas, why did I have to choose this morning to get so hot out? I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Satoko on my back, I broke into a trot. Carrying a person is actually very hard. I'm surprised he can just carry her casually, but she is significantly younger than him, so by like a couple years, right? This is an interesting twist. I wasn't expecting to see Satoko and Pat. I was thinking body, and we somehow got a. I was thinking like body, Satoko fine, and like what the fuck, or nothing. And I found Satoko slash body, which is a weird combination. I'm kind of glad they surprised me with that one. It's quite enjoyable to get like a twist that you weren't exactly expecting. Okay, she's almost dead. Like I would have thought she would be long dead, but here we are. The hilly road to the clinic, which I had never had difficulties with before, was now torturous. Beads of sweat formed on my brow, and at some point my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. Throw the hatchet away. I considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go, at least not while Satoko's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for the clinic came into sight, but I quickly noticed something was off, so I stopped. Several revolving lights were flashing at the clinic. The police were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. They didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I planned to leave Satoko in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. But with the police officer here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly. What's going on? Why are there so many police cars? I gently put Satoko down in the shade of the thicket. I don't know. I'll go see what happened. You stay here for a minute. Leaving a lady in a place like this wearing nothing but a bath towel is simply unforgivable. If you can fire off insults, you'll be fine. I'll be right back. Wait, why is he not carrying Satoko in there? If the police see you carrying someone and you're like, this person's in trouble, they need help, they'll be interested. They'll be willing to help. Usually will be way more sympathetic. They're like, holy shit, she's in like bad condition. But instead, he's running in by himself and he's gonna look delusional. This is so bad. Oh, come on. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. It was one of those who Coach told to make the tea yesterday. Were you the first to find it, since you were on morning duty? So then, what did it look like? He was sitting on the sofa. He looked like he was taking a nap. There was a jug and an empty bottle of sleep medication on his desk, so you immediately thought he'd tried to commit suicide with it. What else? High temperature and incontinence indicated a severe disturbance of consciousness. It seemed like a typical case of sleeping pill poisoning, so I immediately began to treat him. No calling the police or an ambulance? This is a hospital. I'm a doctor. His life was in danger. It's my job to treat him at once. Hey, you've heard enough? It's not about you? Satoko. I don't know why he's like Satoko's life might be in danger. Anyway, we'll leave her here and go eavesdrop on the police. Like, come on, dude. Emergencies. I understand. What else? His breathing was in disarray. I put him on a respirator. I administered breathing stimulants. You've heard enough. Move on. Come on, we don't need the whole conversation. It had no effect. I repaired a medical ventilator and... right. Anyway, in other words, you did what you could, but it wasn't enough. I'm guessing Coach is dead? That's it, right? You reported this as soon as he died? Yeah. It was very unfortunate we were unable to save him. And then, a radio in one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken mechanical voice. This is HQ. HQ. Kominome, can you hear me? Hello? This is Komiyama. We've come up with something. It looks like he committed suicide with sleeping pills. No notes or anything. Suicide? What the heck were they talking about? Dude, it's not relevant to you. Who cares? It's not relevant. Who cares? It's not relevant. Who cares? I hate how Keiichi is insane. I hate how loopy Keiichi is. Someone committed suicide at the clinic, but who? Coach. I wished Akano dead and she died the next day. And yesterday I wished Coach was dead. Then? Did he use sleeping medication regularly? I don't know. Did he normally complain he was tired or wanted to die? Well, here he was normally so, well, himself. He never acted like that. So I was right. Irie-sensei. They were talking about Coach. Enough conversation. Satoko is in danger. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was I wanted him dead. This world was insane. If I wanted someone dead, they'd die. That was the world this was. Please, act like a normal person in a life-threatening situation and try to take care of it if you're actively involved in taking care of it. What about Uishi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, yes, his biggest concern when Satoko is possibly dying is, how is Uishi doing? This asshole I literally wanted dead 5 minutes ago. I've sent you a backup. The chief wants you to leave the rest of them and get back to searching for Uishi's car. Yes, sir. Please excuse me then. Looks like we're getting relieved here, so please leave everything as it is right now. Alright, let's go. The officers nodded and split into patrol cars. I like how he's still just sitting here. He's like, I'm just gonna sit here and watch the police. While Satoko's like, I need medical assistance. But I don't know why we're stopping here. Did they just say searching for Uishi's car? I'm still trying to figure out why he's doing this. Nobody cares. Just fix the problem with the person who might be dying. Come on, man. Searching for his car. That meant he went missing. Tanako-san, Coach, and Uishi. When I wished for it the very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you are when you wish someone was dead, it didn't normally happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead, and that's why people could utter curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time, I hadn't been walking, and yet I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time. Tap, tap, tap. They came from behind, and they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder. Oh my god, it's Satoko! Oh my god! Dude, like you're literally leaving Satoko in a fucking bathrobe instead of taking her to a fucking hospital. What are you doing? Come on, dude. And you're screaming. Yeah. Don't scare me like that. Dude, you're a fucking idiot and you know she's right behind you. I'm the one scared here. I prefer if you didn't shout so suddenly. It was Satoko. Her eyes were still unstable, unfocused, but she seemed at least able to walk on her own now. I'm like, I don't know how to explain this kid's logic. It doesn't make sense. Someone could literally be, if you think she's dying and needs to go to the hospital, you should be taking her there instead of eavesdropping on like a 20-minute conversation with the police. You should just be like, okay, they're talking about someone else killing himself, moving on. Like, they're not here for me. Who cares? Hey, someone's in trouble. We need to help them. She looked better compared to her exhausted state. How do you feel? Are you better? My head still hurts. I can't stay outside looking like this forever. She gave a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were still shaky. Anyway, what on earth's going on? From what I just heard, the police talking about... Coach apparently committed suicide. Toko's at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears. Keiichi-san, Is that true? I didn't mishear you? That's what I heard. They said Irie-sensei killed himself with sleeping pills. Satoko went down on her knees and broke out in tears. I mean, come on, dude. I feel like you've been the most irresponsible person, Keiichi, so... It can't be. Coach, he never killed himself. As I watched Satoko crying and clawing at the grass, I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday. He betrayed me. I thought he'd be better off dead. But even Coach, who to me deserved to die, must have had people who loved and respected him. Like Satoko here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death and it was granted. And now Satoko is crying hysterically as a result. The guilt tore at my heart. I like how it's all about him right now. In fact, I'd say even saving Satoko has been entirely about him. He hasn't really cared for her well-being that much. As someone who's desperately trying to get someone to a hospital, everything he's doing right here is like the opposite of useful. I worked myself up to murder for Satoko's sake. I decided I want Satoko to be happy. And then was that really all it took? Murder meant taking someone's life? It meant making everyone else attached to that person sad? In Satoko's uncle case, no one would be sad. I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I wanted to make Satoko happy. And that resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness on her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my... Satoko still hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be calmer now. Wiping her tears, she stood up. I'm sorry. And the only thing I think of to say was an apology. How are you apologizing? Yesterday I got into a fight with Coach, and I thought I wanted him to die. I wanted it so he really... Satoko looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually her expression softened as she interpreted my words in her own way. It is your fault, Keiichi-san. Coach was an adult too. He felt like there was something he had to give his life for, and chose to do so after a lot of worrying and suffering. It's not anyone's fault. She smiled a little, trying to comfort me. I don't want to be naked forever. I want some clothes. Are you okay? Shouldn't you get someone at the clinic to... I won't die from putting on clothes before going. Satoko readjusted her towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly and it didn't look like she'd recovered as much as she let on. That's right, so it wasn't an emergency because you decided not to make one. At first she tried to go back home, but it was the time of the morning when people were going to school and to work. After seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only the towel. I'm going to Rika's house. My clothes should be there. What's wrong? Keiichi-san? Satoko noticed how I was hanging my head and spoke to me. Despite how he might have come off, Coach was an adult, alright? He certainly would have killed himself after a petty fight with you, Keiichi-san. Please stop blaming yourself. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I could discard the possibility. We know for a fact at least one of them is unrelated, right? There's no such thing as impossible in this world. In fact, yeah, we know at least one of them's unrelated. These past few days haven't made any sense. What has it? Satoko seemed to be having trouble breathing. She still tried to listen to what I had to say. At the festival the day before last, you went home on the way there, right? And I went there and had a lot of fun. So it would seem. I do apologize for getting upset with you about it. Satoko remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little. If I said I didn't actually go to the festival, would you believe me? Satoko looked at me confused. She couldn't help it, of course. Of course I wouldn't believe you. What are you on about? You wouldn't, right? I don't believe it either. I mean, I didn't go to the festival. Everyone says I hung out with them there. No one would believe it, right? Are you being serious? I'm so irritated. He's gotten so many fucking alibis. He's gotten, like, if I killed someone and literally every single person in town covered for me, I'd be... And then he threw it away. And then I threw it away. I'd feel like a fucking idiot. This kid's like, how can I throw this harder? Right? Ever since the night of the Watanagashi, everything's been messed up. These weird footsteps started following me everywhere. The blood drained from Satoko's expression. Footsteps following you? Yeah. I thought it was my imagination at first, but they stayed with me. They're probably still there. I can't tell them apart now because of your footsteps, though. Satoko took a long and hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he after telling him this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless. On the day of the Watanagashi, I didn't go. I was doing something else. The whole time, I wasn't sleeping or unconscious. It's not possible I walked to the festival in my sleep and forgot about it afterwards. That's quite strange. How were you at the festival? That's what I mean. I didn't go to the festival. No, I can't let myself get emotional. If I get agitated now, it'll be proving there's something wrong in my head. Sorry. Well, nobody believes me, so yeah. If that's what you say, Keiichi said, I'll believe you. And what? That night I saw Takano-san, and it felt like she was looking down on me, so I made a wish. A wish she would die. She does have that sort of air about her, does she? I can't say I don't understand how you feel. You know that Takano died? It happened yesterday. Apparently she was burned alive somewhere. Is that true? She died? I wished for her to die, and the next day she was dead. And Uishi from the police, too. Do you know him? That annoying, fat detective guy? Satoko nodded a bit. I heard from the police, apparently he went missing. Yesterday, actually, well, I wished he'd die. Is this all true? I'm not lying. I don't want to believe it either, but it's true. Takano, Coach, and Uishi, I wanted them dead and they all really died. For a little while, Satoko was at a loss. A long silence ensued. What a scary story. I should be sure not to get on your bad side, Keiichi-san. That's not all. There's something even stranger. It's about your uncle. I'd rather you not talk about Uncle. He was there yesterday, right? At your house? Can we stop talking about him? I don't want to. It's impossible. He couldn't have been there. I said stop talking about him. No! The man couldn't have been there after the night of Otanagashi. No more, please, no more about that man. I killed him. With my own hands. Even Cicada stopped crying. Her face was streaked with tears, and it stiffened more as she looked at me in disbelief. On the night of the festival, I killed your uncle. It's impossible he could have gone back home. But still, he went back. And last night he found fault with the dinner you made him, yelled all sorts of things at you, and boiled you in the bathtub. That couldn't have happened. So I wanted to make sure I actually killed him, so yesterday I went to dig up the corpse I buried, but the body wasn't there. Is that even possible? I killed him, but there's no body. He went home like nothing happened, home to you, and that wasn't supposed to happen, was it? Satoko's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away like there was something in front of her about to hurt her. You probably think I've gone a little crazy, don't you? I don't blame you. I can't believe it myself. Keiichi, I think you're confused after all the people you wish dead coincidentally died. You're just in shock at Coach's suicide. You're really upset. I think you should stay home from school today and rest. I'll be fine. Please take care of it. Note, he's had no rest. He's had no rest since the day before Watanayashi. Satoko spoke like she understood me, but also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face and knew she didn't want to be around me anymore. Once I show you to the clinic, I'll go home. Your legs are still shaking, aren't they? It'd be terrible if you collapsed halfway there. Really, I'm fine now. I don't want to expose my naked self to a man any more than this. She wobbled up the shrine steps, looking like she was going to fall. I immediately ran to her and helped her stay on her feet. But then Satoko jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. Once she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged and she wasn't looking at me. This guy's like admitting to literally every person he speaks to that he's killing someone. At this point I was being ignored. It was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me. It was really a feeling of rejection. And that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. It was the path I chose for her sake, and the path you were not supposed to tell her about. But unfortunately, you're too busy bragging about how you murdered someone. And how no one's acknowledging his death fast enough for you. Like, isn't the whole point of killing someone in secret that no one's supposed to know he's actually dead? But Keiichi doesn't seem to understand that, and it's just like, I killed him! Why are you not acknowledging his death already? It's exactly what a murderer would do, right? Don't be naive, Keiichi Maebara. You never wanted to be repaid in the first place. But you didn't do it so Satoko would thank you. Why'd you have to admit it? You seem to be admitting it with the hidden impression that people should be thanking you for this. You did it so Satoko would be happy, and that was what led to this ending. Ooh, that's a new. That's new. Rika's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the town council. Isn't her house a 2-story building? I remember that from last time. She lived in a 2-story building. Her actual house she doesn't live in. If you went past it a little further through the shrine grounds, you'd apparently reach the back of the assembly hall. Satoko was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet crunching as she went. Did she want to get there as soon as possible or run away? I couldn't tell. And then I heard the sound of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen many crows since coming to Hinamizawa. I saw them a lot in my old town, though. On garbage day, they'd flock to the trash collection points, peck through the bags with their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. And as I was remembering it, I saw a few crows flocking around the shrine's donation box. And I thought, how terrible it is for someone to leave a garbage bag in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Even time came to a halt. I ran over to where the crows were flocking. I ran to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There's no way I'd ever wish for this by mistake. This is not... When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, fleeing into the sky. When the crows' big black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bag. And he starts screaming. That's a dead Rika. What had I seen there? The scream that escaped from my throat before I understood what I was looking at. What? What was this? Satoko came over realizing something had happened, and she looked over my shoulder, screaming as well. This wasn't... The garbage bag was crimson, dyed in fresh blood. Enough of this stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right. Yes. It was Rika-chan. Our friend Satoko's best friend, always easygoing, clever as a cat. But so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend Rika, she was... Wait, why is Rika dead? Did we wish Rika dead? I don't recall wishing Rika was dead. Also those high-pitched strings. Rika was stark naked. Face up, limbs sprawled, her eyes like glass staring into the sky. And... Rika! Satoko broke down crying on the spot, and yet she still couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gotten through the garbage bag and they dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. No. Crows couldn't do this. On the spot, I started vomiting. The sour taste became a bitter one as I threw up over and over again. Dude, I don't know why you haven't called the police yet. I mean, like, or gotten her to a fucking hospital. This is getting silly. Rika, her stomach was cut wide open, vertically, completely open. Rika! Crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, ugh. Her organs, her bowels were dragged out like children's toys left all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. You gonna faint, buddy? Color left my vision, a pounding headache, dizzy, and I wanted to vomit. You already did, my dude. But you can want to do it again, that's fine. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone somewhere killed Rika, brought her here, laid her here with her limbs sprawled out, and then cut her open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction, like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few of the crows had hopped around inside the ocean, walking through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints. And those footprints, there were several still left on Rika's body. Those sinister prints made it seem like a bizarre ritual killing. I might have wished for Takano, Koch, and Uishi to die, but I didn't remember wishing for Rika's death. It wasn't me. I stumbled backwards, then stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper in a place like this? The newspaper was covering my hatchet. I kept it wrapped on my belt to carry Satoko, and on that newspaper had fallen off. Oh, don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up, and Satoko looked at me with such disbelief I'd never seen it and froze. She's looking straight at me, at the hatchet, on my belt. I told you to throw it away. I called throw it away when she was carrying me around. Calm down, Satoko. This isn't what it looks like. Satoko, trembling madly, backed away. It wasn't me. It wasn't murder. She didn't care if she was exposing herself through the towel. She just trembled, tried to step back from the demon in front of her. Satoko, calm down. Please relax. Satoko. No. Screaming weakly, Satoko began to run unsteadily. I mean, I did say this guy was like fucking loopy and making really dumb choices. Alright, run away, that is. Wait, please, Satoko, you're wrong. That's not it. The way she ran away, it was so weak, so slow. If I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab her shoulder or something, she might actually go crazy, so I had to follow her and try to clear this up. Throw away the hatchet! You killed Takano and Coach and Uishi! You killed my uncle and Rika! Murder him! No, it wasn't me! I didn't kill her! You just said it yourself, didn't you? You wanted them to die. Everyone died, didn't they? I just wishing they were dead that couldn't. I don't even remember what you did to you. How can I trust a person like you? Didn't your memory of killing just slip your mind? Maybe you're the only one pretending not to remember. Besides, what's that hatchet for? Try explaining that. It's for... Keiichi, you're a killer, aren't you? Why'd you do it? You're a little mean, but you're fun and kind to us. I even thought you might be my real meaning. How'd you turn into this? I might have been able to slowly answer each of her questions at a time, but in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a short period of time is impossible. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent. At the very least, I killed Satoko's uncle. There was no body, but I killed him. Without a doubt. At that point, I was far from innocent. And his kid's just gonna be like, well, this is Keiichi, after all, right, guys? We know how this goes. Someone asks Keiichi questions that he thinks he can't explain, so he just sits there and accepts it, letting people assume the worst. Or does something that makes him look even sketchier, like carrying this axe around that he doesn't fucking need. Like, why is he carrying the axe around? He doesn't need it. He's apparently in a rush to get Satoko to safety. But yeah, let's just run around with the axe, sure. Dumb idea. I wish Takano, Coach, and Uishi were dead, and that verse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano to die, I didn't think of it as anything more than a normal thing you'd say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually died, and I realized if I wanted people to die, they would. Hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Uishi to the same fate. Even ignoring Takano, Coach and Uishi were completely premeditated crimes. Was I a killer, like Satoko said? Was I unable to distinguish illusion and reality? Did I turn into a demon without remembering, becoming a killer who carried out Oyashiro-sama's curse? It couldn't be. It's impossible. Damn it. The word impossible was impossible in Hamizawa right now. Dude, like, I don't know how to say this, but you're making really dumb assumptions, and you keep making dumber and dumber decisions. It's been like that for a few chapters, my friend. How many freaking times have I said the word in these past 3 days? Satoko started crying and was walking unsteadily. At first it was like she was running, but now she's walking and away, crying from someone bullying her. Why? Why did things turn out this way? If there was an answer, I want to know it too. I mean, ignoring the potential supernatural effects, there have been several occasions where you could have changed the way things went, like discarding the axe 10 minutes ago when you were apparently in a rush to get Satoko to safety would have been a good plan. Don't know why he didn't do that. Don't know why he felt he needed to bring the axe to the clinic in the first place, but he brought it. Why did it turn out like this? After Nini went away, I was lost for a long time, but Keiichi transferred to school. Everyone was happy. It was fun. Every day was beautiful. He was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, after that, Satoko and I shouted the exact same thing. How'd it turn out like this? The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle, our strange game of tag. Shut up. Eventually I heard the murmuring of a stream. The forest parted and a suspension bridge appeared. Oh, we haven't seen this bridge before. Satoko was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment. And when I stepped on the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing her to stagger and fall on the spot. Satoko, are you okay? Don't come near me! Bertrand. Satoko shouted, her hatred made clear. It was sad. If words could cut, this warmth flowing from my eyes would have been blood for sure. Why'd you turn out this way, Keiichi? I really like you. I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but the distance between us, it was uncrossable. If I got closer, she'd start shouting again, and say things that would hurt. I couldn't approach closer than this. Satoko, I don't know how things turned out like this either. I can say this, I wasn't the one who killed Rika, at least that much is true. Stop being absurd. How do you expect me to believe anyone, someone who can't even rely on their own memories, has to say? I tightened my hands into fists. This was mortifying. And 100% preventable when you just... I don't know why you decided to end this... I mean... Him being proud of murder is probably the dumbest thing he's been. That's the easy thing to do in both of these cases. I mean, but all the people... I mean... Coach, if he thinks he killed Coach, and he thinks he killed Uishi, those are completely preventable by him not bragging about murdering people. Like, that was, all he has to do is not just be like, oh yeah, guess what? I killed her uncle. Oh yeah, guys, guess what? Listen, I killed her uncle. Like, come on, dude. Is it that hard to just be like, kill someone and move on with your life? Apparently so for this character, but this is also Keiichi, so we know he literally can't keep his mouth shut for 2 seconds. I wasn't crazy. Hinamizawa was crazy. Ever since I wandered into it lost on that one night. This insane world where I was at the festival and when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive. Where death would come just by wishing for it. It was this world's fault. Mion and Reina started acting strangely like they were possessed by something too, and Coach, he wouldn't believe anything I had to say. Even Satoko, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price for killing a man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing. At least I wanted to. So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, the days Satoko and I enjoyed in peace was so wrong. Satoko, please believe me. I'm not a murderer. What's that hatchet for? Can you give me a convincing explanation for that? Is this scaring you? Okay, I'll throw it away. That's what you want, right? She didn't nod, but it was in agreement with that proposition. I clumsily took it out of my belt and dropped it over the side of the bridge into the stream below. There, it's gone. Now you'll listen, right? You think I'd let my guard down because you got rid of your weapon? Keiichi, you're strong. It'd be easy for you to strangle with your bare hands. Like I would ever want to kill Satoko. Idiot. And what should I do? Should I put my hands on my head? Yeah, why don't you? Put your hands on your head and face the other way. It was a cunning plan like the ones she used during club activities. Putting my hands on the head and turning away would mean I couldn't attack her easily. I acquiesced to her request, since it would make her feel better. Is this alright? Listen to what I have to say. Satoko stood up, carefully approaching me from behind. She came up right behind me. She was so close, and yet I was so sad I wasn't allowed to turn around. I sort of think I understand. It's not your fault, Keiichi. I think probably you've been possessed by something evil. Till before, I thought Keiichi was a killer, but now I know. After looking at your eyes, I could hear Satoko was crying, but her voice was gentle just the same. Keiichi could never kill anyone. Something simply possessed his body and made him do evil things. Was she speaking literally? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell. Come to think of it, maybe. I hear like the bells in the distance, like she's trying to purge, I don't know, like ritual bells or some shit. Come to think of it, maybe like I don't know, like one of those ritual branches with bells in it or some shit. Maybe they were possessed, just like Keiichi. At the time I was only thinking I'd be killed, so I didn't think about it. Now I understand. That was the work of something evil that possessed you. Satoko, what are you? It was less like she was talking to me, and more like she was talking to herself, confessing at my back. I understand, you know, it isn't like I haven't experienced it myself. Satoko's voice started becoming mixed with sobs. Her pain voice tore at my heart, but I didn't know what Satoko was talking about. I climbed to the ritual storehouse top once. It was a few years ago. Okay, top of the ritual storehouse. Once, when Satoko was playing hide-and-seek at the shrine grounds, she climbed on top of the roof of the storehouse for ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near, and hid. And she saw she could get in through a window meant for ventilation. Oh, interesting. For Satoko, the word curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside the unknown storehouse. She removed the grating, which was already hanging off, slid her small body into it, and climbed inside. It was too dark to see, but after descending, she realized how high she'd been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming from the air window. And to her disappointment, it was a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked from the outside. It was made not to open from within. She'd have to go back out through the ventilation window she'd come in from, but the window was high on the wall. There was no way she'd be able to climb back up. She desperately tried not to cry and racked her brain thinking of a way to get up there. There were a lot of birdcage-looking things hanging by chains from the ceiling. She took the chains, strung them along the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to manage to climb up the ventilation window. There was nothing else to do. She had to try, and try she did. It was dark and creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about it, the more she panicked. She climbed the chains. She could hear the clinks and clangs of everything creaking under her weight. And just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she used to stick the chains in the wall flew off, and the chains all began to pull loudly and furiously every which way. Spurred on by the sounds behind her, she managed to get back on the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the flailing bundle of chains, the other fixtures broke. One of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with a huge noise. Oof, oof. Under it was an image of Oyashiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off one of the arms and trapped some other implements beneath it. It didn't take long for her to grow scared of what she did. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine grounds. A few of the other children heard it and gathered around, and of course, Rika was one of them. Then Rika's father, the shrine priest, with an angry look ran over. And as for what happened next, It was painful to remember. The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key was the ritual storehouse. It was Rika. We scolded her, saying this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. He was very angry and menacing. Just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back and took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something and struck her with it several times. Rika's words at the time, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." That pitiful voice I still can't get out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so to save my best friend from that false accusation without being afraid of Rika's father's terrible temper. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't remember doing. And ever since then, the world had been strange. I know, I understand. This is Oishiro-sama's curse. His judgment for messing up the ritual stores and forsaking my best friend. Oishiro's curse? My father and mother too, they vanished that muddy stream. My aunt died too. Nini, who loved me more than anyone, ran away. And Keiichi transferred in. I thought I'd gotten my life back, but this time, Keiichi was possessed. Even Rika got killed. There's something I heard once. Oishiro-sama, when he really curses someone, he doesn't kill them right away. He goes in order your closest friends. After killing them all, he kills that person last. Keiichi-san, the curse got you too. I'm sure that Reina and Mion will be cursed next. And they'll kill me. I'll be killed. No more. No. Calm down, Satoko. There's no curse. Nobody's trying to torment you. When I turned around, I was thrust away with amazing force. Given my hands were awkwardly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance. And I'd been pushed not into the bridge, but to the side. Towards the stream. No, this can't be happening. No. As one last miracle, I was able to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below were rocks of all sizes. If I fell, it wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge tilted under my body weight. My frail little grip wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go. Satoko! Satoko! I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me, or was I asking why she did this? And finally, everything came back into focus and I saw Satoko. I was surprised what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. An expression of righteous anger meant only for those who needed to die. There we go. Die, you murderer. I don't know what you expect, my dude. You're not being subtle. Give it back! Get back my Nini! Get back Rika, Mommy, and Keiichi! Hey look, she's having her own mental breakdown. Good job, dude. As she screamed, she jerked the bridge to and fro. You didn't have to do that. I was gonna fall anyway. I won't lose to the likes of you. I won't lose to some stupid curse. I'll never lose to you. You took everyone. I'll never lose to you. Not ever. Satoko, please, let me say one thing. I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to quell her agitation. I know what I did isn't praiseworthy. Maybe I shouldn't have done it all, but I wanted you to be happy. Please believe that. You're still pretending to be Keiichi? Satoko didn't have any more desire to listen to what I had to say. And for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic. I didn't do it so you would praise. Liar. You literally can't shut up about it. You want praise. You're lying to yourself if you're thinking you don't want praise. Literally every person you've spoken to, you've admitted to murder in front of. It made you happy, that's all that matters. At least in your, like, yeah, every single person. Made you happy, that's all that matters. We were nothing. Without your smile, we were nothing. So after I disappear, please smile. If you can get on with your new life by me dying, please just smile. Can you at least promise me that? Stop speaking! Don't use Keiichi's mouth like that! Fall down! Die. And those were the last words Satoko ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended like this? Where did I first go wrong? What was the mistake I made? When did I make it? I mean, wow, you want a laundry list? You want a list? It's gonna be a long one. Was I the crazy one, or was it Hanamizawa? Even after all of this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was the eerie world that was crazy, this world I'd accidentally wandered into that one night. It was that fun world where I never doubted all the crazy times we had as a club would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world would have never ended with this, with Satoko pushing me to my death. In the end, I was gonna be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. Probably already disappeared. Probably, on the night of Watanagashi. I'm sure that in the world I really belonged to, I vanished that night and everyone was worried. It was laughable I'd taken this long to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th year was Satoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Satoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting my disappearance and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. Even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen, they'd have a good time without me. Waiting for the day I would come back. Sorry everyone. I couldn't come back home, but this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Satoko's smile and my duty as her nini. At this point, there will be no one left to torture you. Because Satoshi and I... It took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying, toothy smile of yours. We wanted to see it one more time. My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was a sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What little compassion I had receded in a span of a moment. And now I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazed Hinamizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to kill people when I wanted. If you'll still allow it, I'll wish for one last thing. The death of this very world, of this crazed Hinamizawa. So that no one will ever again have to find themselves lost here. The end? Yep, that's the end. I don't think there's any more chapters after that one. Our protagonist is dead. That seems like... There's a continue button. Alright. Alright, this might be our last tip. Our final tip. Oyashiro-sama. Nobody knows what character to use to write Oyashiro-sama. Knowing this is partly because, depending on the time period, he's been called various titles with subtle changes to his name and nobody knows the real one. The only thing all periods agree on is the 4 syllables Oya, Shi, and Ro are always used. There's a theory stating the shrine, or Yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama itself became an object of worship. And that people began calling it Oyashiro-sama, or Lord Memorable Shrine, but that doesn't make a bit of sense. Ooh, she damaged the shrine. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furude family, the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping him, actually inherited his blood. And in the legend, the Furude family passes down, if for 8 generations in a row the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. If we go by this legend, the characters used for his name should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. These character assignments are simply something I've thought up. There's no way to verify it. If this is true, Oyashiro would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions. This isn't unusual. But a few of these religions call the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment or something along those lines. We can't forget we must not forget they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folk in the village. The rumors say she's the 8th generation in Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least I can confirm the past 2 generations the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watches over Hinamizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it once again create a hellish landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? A gruesome feast of the demons who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were, who could only cry, scream, and run for their lives? What would that look like? Imagining it is enough to make my heart pound with excitement. What is this, written by Takano? It's in research notes, it might be Takano. Okay, how can there be anything left? Usually they end at 12 and our protagonist is dead. What does continue give us? Post credits? My head was pounding. Wait, we aren't dead yet? Interesting. How do we die? We've died in the last 2 arcs. I'm afraid we're not gonna find out tonight.